love Mike Hanson Archives.
Hello, folks. This is Jeff Davis with the legendary Jeff Davis Show from Central Texas, USA. And I love Mike Hanson Archives. Peace out, baby.
Hello, Austin, Texas, and we are back. Now, this is Monday night. It's live on 22 December 1997. And we've got, if we have time, we're going to get to some footage that was played on 60 Minutes yesterday. If we have time, we're going to do that. But until then, I'm going to do something down here that I've been wanting to do for a long time and haven't done it, due to the fact that we have lots of guests down here and whatnot. And we're going to do it. We're now going to do it. I want to talk to you folks about the current state of affairs that we're living under. And I would recommend that you get your VCRs and tape the program, because I think if you watch this program, if you listen to what's being said here, you will agree that at least, even without any investigation, that in part what I'm presenting here is truth. And it's just basically, like I say, it's the state of the current affairs that we're in. Now, I want to just preface this by first off saying that there's a lot of people that have stepped forward in this information movement, and I want to just go ahead and just thank them for it. I'm not going to mention anybody right now. We'll do that later in the program. But the thing I want to just bring up and talk to you for a little while today about is what's called this New World Order. Now, if you watch Bill Clinton and some of these other people, the term is not New World Order anymore. Now it's international community, global community, etc. World this, world that, international interest. And this is the gist of where I want to talk about. Now, this current problem that we're under, that America's in, actually dates back to the year 1776 with a fellow named Adam Weishaupt, who founded the Order of the Illuminati. And he actually wrote a document, which I have a copy of, who basically stated that that one day, through secret societies, through international finance, through his ancestors and descendants, that one day they would buy up the world. And this, my friends, is exactly what has happened. Their goals are quite clear. They wanted world government and world conquest for their descendants. Now, I want to mention first off that currently there's as little as 8 families who run and control the world right now. And I'll just mention them briefly. These are the people that have stepped into the limelight over the years. Remember, John D. Rockefeller was the first one who tried to corner the oil market, J.P. Morgan, and the Rothschilds with their banking dynasties. And that's basically the preface of the current rulership. You've got the Rockefeller dynasty, you've got the Habsburg dynasty, the Rothschild dynasty through the Bank of England, the Oppenheimer reserves, who's the big diamond king in South Africa, the Bronfman family, Edgar Bronfman, who's the owner of Seagram's Distillery, and he's also the president of the World Jewish Congress. These are just a few of the families that are in rulership position right now, and they've acquired this wealth through ownership of international financial institutions. Now, the goals of Adam Weishaupt and his descendants were quite clear. Basically, they wanted a global financial system which they control. The IMF, the World Bank, the Federal Reserve Bank, and through international finance, they would be able to buy up most of anything of any significance. That is the key of their control. And from that, now I'm turning around. There's a lot of events that have happened in the first 150 years in this country. Andrew Jackson killed the central bank. Abraham Lincoln was against the central bank. He printed the greenbacks. there has been attempts throughout the history of this country of a central bank being formulated and controlled by the European elite. And not until 1913 did that actually get done, December 23rd, 1913, with the passage of the Federal Reserve Act. Now keep in mind, folks, this is the control in the heart of their mechanism, because without the debt usury money system, the ability to steal from everybody and control the world's resources, they would not have the resources to buy up most of the organizations that I'm going to be talking about here briefly. Now, their basic goals, of course, were to eliminate nationalities, the abolishment of the U.S. Constitution, which they did in 1933 with the War and Emergency Powers Act. We're going to be getting into that a little bit later. Religions, we're going to be talking about that quite intensely over the next hour. Organized religion and its role in this. Education, free public education. For children starting at an early age will be allowed, will be trained in the fundamentals of obeying the state, just like the churches teach you now. Mobility, and we're seeing this now with high-speed rail and other mechanisms. The mass transit will be the basic mode of travel, having one's papers in order, licenses, registration, road use fees, display of proper identification will be a necessity before an individual will be allowed to travel. We're already seeing that much to the disliking of many. Now, basically, the whole gist of Adam Weishaupt's dreams was to control the world's people and their resources. And this is now it's some 220 years later, and I believe they are on the very threshold of doing that. I want to mention some secret societies that the Illuminati has infiltrated over the last couple hundred years and are now diligently working for the quest of the global slave elite. First off is the P2 Lodge in Europe, the Knights of Malta, the Order of the Jesuits, which is a Catholic order, high-level Freemasonry, the Skull and Bone Society, of which the Bushes, George and George Jr. are both members of the Skull and Bone Society, and Eastern Star, which is the woman's side of Freemasonry. Some of the semi-secret meeting groups that they formulated, basically what they are is just their little meeting houses for them to go and meet and plot and decide what they're going to do with this country and that country. It includes one of the top groups is the Committee of 300, the Club of Rome, the Bilderbergers, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, and there's actually several more here that I can see. The Aspen Institute, the Bohemian Grove, regional federations such as NATO, international labor unions, and on the world basis, of course, in the intelligence arena, you have the CIA, you have the Interpol, the mafia, organized crime industry, British intelligence, the KGB, and of course the CIA. That's the intelligence network on a global basis. Now, now as far as those are semi-secret front groups that the enemy has established. Now, on a public scale, the ones that we hear about regularly in the media, the ones that are providing peace and doing good for the world, of course, is the United Nations, the World Trade Organization. We hear about that pretty frequently now. The World Council of Churches, which is another one of their systems that's actually spiritual control. NATO, as I mentioned, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the World Wildlife Fund. Basically, on all spheres now, they've got something working in their best interest, either environmentally, politically, spiritually, or whatever. Now, some of the American front groups, and I want to just mention this, basically includes virtually anything of any significance. They've either created and financed or have infiltrated. That includes both the major political parties. If you look at your Bill Clinton is a member of the CFR, Newt Gingrich is a member of the CFR. What you got here is the old order out of chaos, where they appear to be providing on the surface some differences, but in fact there is no difference. The common objectives are globalism and bigger government. And that includes, folks, even the Libertarian Party, I believe, has been infiltrated. So it's a big system here that we're talking about. Now, of course, the major media is part of their handmaiden, and we're going to be talking about that. National Public Radio, the American Civil Liberties Union, the National Pro-Life Groups, the NRA, the National Council of Churches, the Nature Conservancy. Most environmental groups, by the way, are funded by the same corporate interest that they, on the surface, appear to be fighting. So I think that's kind of an interesting little twist when you look at that particular situation. Different voters groups that we hear about, so-called human rights groups. Now the National Organization for Women, different trade organizations, as I mentioned, all major denominations of religions. Now keep in mind, folks, that nowhere in the Bible is Catholic mentioned, or Episcopalian, or Pentecostal, or Protestant, or Baptist, or none of this. So you have to wonder next, then, where did all this confusion come from? Well, I think as we move along here, you'll have a pretty good idea of where this confusion came from. And since we're on the verge of Christmas here, I want to just mention that, of course, all of the mainstream churches are supporting Christmas, and they're supporting the pagan holiday and all the Antichrist activities that go with it, including the Christmas tree, which Christ ordered his disciples to cut down. The day being December 25th, which is tied into the winter solstice, old winter festival of the heathen, and various different things. The gift exchange, which is recorded in the Bible one time in Revelations, and that was when the time that Christ died and the heathen worshipped his death. That was the only recorded gift exchange in the Bible. So the fact is, virtually all of what we're facing, folks, is it's a political, it's an economic, and it's a spiritual system of control and enslavement. And like I say, as we progress along here, I think you'll start to see this. Lawyer groups, the barrister, the bar situation, that's actually a British term, barrister. Virtually any organization of any significance was either created, financed, or infiltrated by the people who are in control of this system. Now, some of the strategies and mechanisms now I'm just going to speak strictly right now of America. Now, they're doing a lot of different things with other countries. They got troops in Bosnia. They've got our troops in Bosnia. They've got, other troops other places. They're doing different types of strategies on different countries. I'm just going to speak right now of America's current problem. One thing that the key to understanding freedom, real freedom, the gauge of freedom, in fact, is economics. Now, when you consider that this country is so far in debt now that the debt can never be repaid. There's only one answer, and that is basically we repudiate the debt and we turn back to a constitutional money system, debt-free money system. Otherwise, there's just no hope. The debt is up in the umpteen trillions, personal, private, and governmental, to where the debt, and there's compounded interest being paid on it, the debt could never be repaid. And that's just the fact behind that. As far as the debt, of course you got the Federal Reserve. That's the heart of the problem. And then they try to manipulate us into things like bonds, selling bonds and all this type of thing for the children and all of this. And keep in mind, folks, that debt equals slavery. And that's a key when you understand this, that our masters over us now, ruling over this nation, use debt and financing as the main mechanism, part of the economic system that they use. Taxes is, as you see up there on the screen, is a form of slavery, form of economic enslavement. Income tax was instituted with the 16th Amendment in 1914, and since that time they, of course, they promised to soak the rich at the time, and they've ended up, the deal was that they fed us was that they would only tax us 2%. We're now up to, depending upon what tax bracket you're in, up to 15 to 29%. We also have sales taxes, and we have one of the most enslaving taxes, I believe, the property tax, which basically means you don't own what you live on. Even though you say you own it, it's an illusion of ownership. So they've instituted economic means of controlling us and tracing us, or tracking us, tracking our transactions. Now, one of the big strategies that I see that they employed on the American people was back in 1935 with the creation of the Raw Deal. I mean the New Deal with President Roosevelt. Roosevelt was just another one of their minions, and one way to control a good part of the population is to make people dependent. And the slave masters at that time knew that this would be a vital mechanism, and they sold it to us as good. But so they created all different types of social and welfare programs to make people dependent, retirement programs to make people dependent upon in their retirement, different types of licensings and permits, and you got to get the government, you got to ask the government to do this and do that, make you dependent upon them. It's also created a dependent voting bloc in this country, and which means that there's a good number of people that are on these programs now that are not going to bite the hand that feeds them, so they're going to continue to vote for more of these big expansion of programs. One of the main mechanisms, of course, is they create fear. We're going to be getting into this a little bit later. And they also control a huge bit of the corporate elite through corporate welfare, and through, of course, the economic side of it, of buying up stocks and bonds, and then through the manipulation of Wall Street have been able to buy up a good portion of the large corporation base. So you got economics involved, and you've got dependency involved, and these are two mechanisms that the enemy of America, the people who control this country now, are employing. They've also installed, they've been very sneaky in using Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto to employ different types of systems of permits and whatnot. They've got the state control of industries through taxation and huge regulatory agencies, OSHA and the EPA and these kinds of things. They've got their central bank. They've created public education over the last 50 years. And as David Rockefeller once stated, that public education was helpless people yielding themselves to our molding hands. Excuse me. So they got the public education thing going, and there's Mr. Rockefeller there. They got the income tax, as we've noted, property tax, government education, or actually, public education. We've already talked about that. And another thing that they've employed, they employed this in 1933 with the War and Emergency Powers Act. They installed what's called executive orders. And there's been like 17,000 executive orders by the 10 or 12 presidents since 1933 that we've had. And basically what an executive order is, folks, is it creates dictatorial powers. Like I say, established in 1933 by the War and Emergency Powers Act, and allows the president to enter laws in the Federal Register where the House and Senate cannot vote on the Federal Register guidelines, and after 30 days it becomes law. And we're seeing this. Clinton did this. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, but Clinton did this in 1993, 92, which ultimately, what they do is they basically bribe the states in these federal mandates that are not voted on. They basically bribe the states into submitting to some type of tyrannical type system or scenario, overpowering the 10th Amendment, state sovereignty, and they bribe them through grants. And we're seeing this. If basically, if the state doesn't want to submit to blood and urine sampling, like one of the latest Federal Register says, then they just will refuse to cut off their highway funding. So this is the kind of system that has been going along now for a long time. And I want to get in briefly now to some of the strategies and the mechanisms that they're employing on us. Now this is very important when you understand what your enemy's doing to you. I think this is the most important element in the equation. You don't really have to understand a lot of the systems of that they've got created, where they've gained resources, although I think that's important too. But what I want to encourage people to do is to start recognizing the various mechanisms that they're employing on us. And if you watch the national news media, even the local news media, you will see this regularly. First off, one of their main mechanisms, of course, is the drug war. And basically, the CIA has been involved in many years in bringing cocaine and heroin into the country. And then what that does is create fear and hysteria and justifies more police powers. And I'm going to be talking about the Hegelian principle a little bit later and how they're using that. They also use a system, what I call order out of chaos. And these are just little schemes that shenanigans that they've developed or implemented from other past research. But order out of chaos involves various different mechanisms. First off, through the various front organizations that we've talked about earlier, they control left and right, up and down, black and white, and basically they control both sides. A good example of this was in the Vietnam War, when they had that phony war going on. They created the left-wing peace movement, and basically what the peace movement was all about on a general scale. There were some people that were protesting it just for being over there, but a lot of the peace movement was that we don't want the money spent for our young people to be in Vietnam, so because we want more spending over here for social programs. So it's the left-right syndrome, and you see this regularly. If you're watching, basically these different front organizations they basically create black and white and control both sides. Loyal opposition, they use that, and that is basically when they'll use some group to oppose another group's opinions or attempted policies for the wrong reasons. We saw this in NAFTA, for example, in GATT, where NAFTA and GATT, of course, GATT was actually planned back in the 50s as part of their globalism to set up a regionalism type system where the internationalists could more manage the economy better. And actually planned in the 50s, they just got around to it 3 years ago with GATT, NAFTA and GATT. But the opposition you saw was not opposing the idea of sovereignty or giving up our policies to a World Trade Organization. Rather, it was, for jobs and the environment and this kind of thing. So you're seeing this on a regular basis. And then, of course, they've got their little tandem, phony little things going. They got their Clinton girlfriends and the corrupt politicians and whatnot. Just giving you a little chaos, spoon-feeding you some chaos to get you a little apathetic and turned off the process. Now, one of the main mechanisms that I've talked about on this show before, and we'll continue to talk about as long as we have a forum down here, there was a old German philosopher named Hegel, and he developed a 1-2-3 system, which has been adopted by the enemy. It's called the Hegelian principle. Now, the Hegelian principle is a 3-step process. Basically, The enemy creates the crisis, and then in step one, and in step two, they come in and bring in fear, and they create fear and hysteria amongst the masses. And then in step three, provide the solution for the problems that they created in step one and two. Very powerful tool that they use. Some examples of the Hegelian principle at work, of course, is the drug war, where they bring the drugs in here, on the large bulk of drugs in here, launder the money through major financial institutions, and then turn around and have a drug war. And basically what that amounts to is a war on people and a war on guns. And through the fear and hysteria that's created on this drug war, unfortunately too few people understand how they're being manipulated in this process. They've done this with public education. They create the government training centers, and there's a lot of problems and a lot of curriculum changes and a lot of problems that need to be addressed. So then they come in step three with more money and ultimately more schools being put under federal control or some type of federal guidelines, federal standards, basically just to brainwash the kids to the expectations that they want them to be in. And they do this with government programs. They've created all these programs, many of which have failed for one reason or another, and so what they do is they just create more programs, and they're more coercive than the programs that they had created prior to. So you see this mechanism being employed quite regularly. Now I want to talk quickly here about diversions that they use against us. Diversions is a very powerful mechanism that they use, and basically they create apathy through different shock treatment. This is a basic psychological tool that they've employed through fear tactics and different things, and they've made people politically apathetic by all of the political scandals that they've shown and this kind of thing. And of course what this has done has led many people into the sports arenas and the entertainment industry, and basically just focusing on issues, just like the old Roman gladiators did, back in Rome. They just focused on issues of sports and entertainment and network shows and soap operas and puppet shows and this kind of thing. So they've definitely done a good job with that. Now they also employ the old divide and conquer mechanism. The old divide and conquer mechanism is a powerful tool that they've employed. They pit black against white, smoker against non-smoker, male against female. Virtually any type of divisive issue that you can see, that you know of, they're using it. And like I say, if you watch the national news media, you will see this regularly. Keep in mind the media is their handmaiden in all this. Another powerful tool that they use is they always have to have a foreign enemy. There has to be a Saddam, or there has to be the Vietnamese and their communism and those wicked Koreans and all. There has to be some type of enemy abroad. It's a standard. I mean, this goes back to Egypt, as far as I know, way back to the old emperors of Rome, and they always keep the people focused on some created enemy or something over here abroad, so they don't really see what's happening here at home. Typical age-old argument or tool, mechanism that they use. Now, one area that I talk about, and most people won't, but I talk about it because it's important, and that's the element of organized religion. Organized religion, folks, keep in mind God did not create the organized religion that we have today. These huge buildings and fancy structures and these pastors that are parroting what they were taught in their seminaries and what they're handed down through their so-called respective church denominations. Once again, folks, God, nowhere in the Bible is the word Catholic or Pentecostal, Episcopalian, Protestant, Baptist, any of these terms used in the Bible. So you got to wonder where did all this confusion come from? Well, that's when we start studying the World Council of Churches, another one of their divisive organizations that has been responsible, again, through the main mechanism, of course, international finance, but they've created these different religions, and again, on the surface, they make it appear like there's something different, but the fact is there isn't. They're all practicing Sunday Sabbaths, and anybody with any sense knows that Saturday's the Sabbath. But they've got all different things. They all practice Easter and Christmas, and they get you feeling real good, and doing a little bit of choir singing, and some hip shaking, this kind of thing. Get you feeling real good in there on Sunday mornings. But the fact is, folks, they're phony. Very few of them are teaching actual biblical principles, and 95% of them teach the old render unto Caesar and submit to the authority business. Just think of how well this plays into the hands of your slave masters. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out here that what we're up against is economical, political, and spiritual, and that's what it is. They've got all wheels turning here. Anybody that doesn't want to talk about this, I'm sorry. Jeff Davis is going to talk about it. Jeff Davis is going to tell you what's happening, how you're being manipulated on all fronts, whether people like it or not. That's what I've been doing down here for a long time, and I'm going to continue to do it, like I say, as long as I'm allowed to have a forum down here. Now, we talked about the sports and entertainment, national news, pumping it out every day, the scores and all of this. This goes way back. And then, of course, they've got the issues of absolutely no significance. And if you see this, if you watch the news regularly, where they're basically all have the same stories and they've all got the same slant on them, at least 50% of them are issues of no significance. For example, like I say, I use the OJ, which just absolutely clustered the American people's mind for a year and a half. OJ, and then you got the Bobbitt story and the Marv Alberts and this kind of stuff. Just the stuff that doesn't have anything to do with liberty or freedom or how we're being, how we're having our sovereignty being stolen from us and our Bill of Rights is being flushed down the toilet. No, they don't want you to talk about that. They want you to talk about OJ and Bobbitt. Give me a break, Jeff Davis. Why should we be focusing on the issues you talk about? They're not pleasant. I want to just stay focused on eating my cheeseburger and watching the Cowboys and who's making in the playoffs this weekend. I don't want to listen to that guy. Yeah, we all know how it goes, folks. The fact is, that's not going to do anything for the liberty of your children. That's not going to do anything for freedom for the future generations. So just keep doing it if that's what you choose to do. I have chosen to stand up for something I believe in, and that's just exactly what I'm going to do. Like I say, provide as long as I'm able and capable of having a forum down here, and other forums that I go that we at the Jeff Davis Show have privy to. Another mechanism that they've used, other than all of the versions and the order out of chaos and all of this, you see, is they've done an excellent job in weakening their resistance to their world slave state. Number one, they have effectively diminished the strong role of the male in the family. And when you consider how powerful that is, I mean, in the American Revolution, it was the men with strong women behind them who fought the American Revolution. Now through the various soap opera shows and all their shows where they diminish the mentality of the men and the role of the men in the family, that is very much becoming very passé now. So they are weakening the resistance through I think, very highly psychological means. They also use a device where they teach compassion for the children. Clinton in every one of 50% of his speeches, he's doing it for the children. He loves the children, don't you know? He loves the children. And so does Newt Gingrich and all of these CFR elitists. They love the children. But if you listen to them, folks, it's not in your hands or my hands or the parents' hands. It's in their hands. The hands of the state. Think about it. Now, we've been documenting the last couple of weeks down here about experimentation on people. Last week down here, I had a copy of actually 2 declassified documents from Senate hearings where there was a hearing on experimentation of people here in America. This involved Project MK Ultra, CIA project, which they claimed in the document that these experiments were no longer taking place. And I believe that is about as much as I own a piece of silver forest in Colorado. But the fact is, we've been documenting this, how the U.S. Army was experimenting mustard gas on its soldiers. The Tuskegee experiments with the black men in Alabama. We've been documenting this, folks. This is your government experimenting on you. This is the same type of people that you entrust with your children. Give me a break, folks. Another mechanism that they've used is they've got that loving AMA, American Medical Association. Basically what that is a mechanism to get people hooked in on drugs and pharmaceuticals and this kind of thing, operate on you like guinea pigs. And I think if they find something good, worthwhile, then they'll use it for themselves, is what I think it amounts to. But they've used the AMA and the FDA to ban any and all health care practices except their AMA-approved drugs, which means all alternative type health care methods, herbs, all different types of that kind of thing are fastly becoming unavailable, illegal, etc. And they've also weakened our food and water supply system. The food we get largely now at the local HEB or the Albertsons has been largely processed. I think you'd be better off to eat the box than to eat the actual cereal in most of these cereal boxes, or most of these cereal packages. There's more nutritional value in that. Just the sugar is processed. There's a lot of different things that they're doing with the processing of our food systems. Also, when you include the pesticides on our fruits and vegetables, did you ever wonder why there's so many cancers breaking out? And now they're also moving towards irradiation of food. What this does is destroy the live enzymes in our food supply. They're doing it with meats. They create some scare here again that they need to do this. And they're now moving towards irradiating our meats. And of course the basic ploy that they use to weaken any resistance movement is they have a heavy concentration of brainwashing going on. Heavy amounts of conditioning. The biggest line that I've been hearing over the last 3 or 4 months on doing various radio and television programs is that and the people will call up and they'll say, we're a nation of laws. We need all of these laws to take good care of us, don't you know? Because the people are so damn stupid that they don't know how to act responsibly. So we need all of these laws to compel us to act in a proper behavior. Folks, you have really bought the old sucker line on that one. If you believe, the fact is there are so many laws in the books right now today that if they were to implement all the laws, we would all be criminals. There are food hoarding laws. There are so many types of enslaving laws that they have in the books that they're not implementing right now. The fact is that we're all could be vulnerable as criminals. That has to be one of the most ridiculous lines. Can you believe them? Think about the mentality of what you're saying. That the people are so irresponsible and so stupid that they need all of these laws coming down from some bureaucrats up in Washington, D.C. or from the UN or somewhere to behave properly. Folks, you have anybody that argues that point has absolutely no conception of what real liberty or freedom or what live and let live or you be responsible for your own actions or you're punished. Has no conception of that whatsoever. You've bought into this brainwashing mechanism that they've employed. The need for big government. You know, all the people can't take care of themselves. Don't you know, Jeff Davis? We have to have all of these programs, this safety net. Yeah, right. You go and steal from everybody, give it up to a bunch of bankers and bureaucrats and phony politicians so they can send 25 to 30% back down to you with strings attached. Boy, if you believe that one, I've got some swampland, baby, for you in Death Valley, California, man. If you believe that one. So the fact is, folks, they've got this baby working on all cylinders. They've got religious, they've got political, they've got economic. Economic enslavement through debt, through taxes, property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes. They've got the political systems. It's a complete scam. People aren't voting, and that's good for them. Because I'll tell you right now, if voting hurt the enemy, they wouldn't allow us to do it. So at least the people are understanding that when you got Tweedledee and Tweedledum as your candidates, that it's not worth going to the voting booths. That's at least that's one step in their favor. They've got the political mechanism. They've got the Hegelians going. They got the order out of chaos. They got diversions. I mean, you name it, baby, they got it cooking. And of course, getting into one of my last subjects here is the controlled news and information at the top. And this is their baby here. Over the course of the last 60, 70 years, ever since J.P. Morgan bought up the 25 most influential newspapers in America, you have basically been given a bill of pablum. You got Peter Jennings. He and Dan Rather up there making $6 million a year. That's as much as some top quarterback in the NFL and Sly Stallone. I think they're all in the same business of entertainment. But you got this controlled news curtain at the top, which of course filters the information down. And the locals pick up on this stuff, this brainwashing from the top. And that's what you're getting. You've also got a regulated media. Not only is it FCC licensed, government licensed media, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's totally bad, except for the fact that through licensing, it's created huge monopolies in the media industry so that only the powerful interest can buy major advertising. That's what the licensing has done. But you also have situations like in Waco, Texas, where they backed the media, the local media, up 3 miles, so the media couldn't see what was going on in Waco. They did that for their own best interest, you know. And Republic of Texas, where they backed the local media up 10 miles. You call down there to the Secretary of State of Texas and ask them to do an interview with McLaren during the siege, because all you're getting is some Mike Cox fella at DPS. That's the only information you're getting fed. And you call down there and you request an interview with Rick McLaren, and they don't let you do it because it's the whole situation's still under investigation. Boy, I'll tell you what, folks. This propaganda machine that's in place is the worst in recorded history. They've got it cooking 24 hours a day. Now, so ultimately, basically through all these different mechanisms, the media ultimately becomes the handmaiden of the slave masters. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that all people that work in the media are bad people. I will say this, though. Most of them have gone through their proper college courses and been properly indoctrinated into liberalism, and you know, the president is the main authority when you have to follow everything he does and print faithfully every word he says, and don't ask very tough questions either. In fact, that just happened in San Antonio about 3 years ago. A fella asked the wrong question to George Bush when he was down here visiting. It must have been about 5 years back, 6 years back. And they canned the media person because he didn't ask the right question to George Bush. So, with these different mechanisms, the media ultimately becomes the slave master's handmaiden. And like I say, I'm not implying that all the people in the media are bad, because quite frankly, they're in the same mess. They're in the same boat we're in. So have pity on them, if nothing else. Now, want to talk about solutions? I've got some solutions here tonight. The first solution, folks, is you need to wake up. You need to wake up to the fact that this is real. There is a power behind the scenes running this nation that wants you destroyed. That's all there is to it. Maybe if you be a nice enough little slave for them, maybe they'll continue to throw out a little bit more chicken feed. The fact is, the people who are running this nation, controlling this nation, do not have your best interest at heart. You need to wake up. And it's coming at us on every front. They use the environmental movement as part of their mechanism to control huge land masses. They use the children for more programs. They use a murder to brainwash you into telling you how bad guns are. They push for mobile transit and busing, so they can put you in a bus and track you best like cattle. They've got global positioning satellite systems, tracking and tracing, getting ready to implement smart highway systems and cameras. And we're going to get to a piece here in about 15 minutes that was aired yesterday on 60 Minutes. And I have been talking about black helicopters, so-called law enforcement wearing black ski masks, busting into your house under the guise of law enforcement. And I've been telling you this for 5 years, folks, ever since I've had a program down here. And that time you called me a theorist. Now it's in your face and you're saying it's okay. Well, folks, that's just not going to get it done. So the first step is you need to wake up. This is an unacceptable. What's going on the screen right now is totally unacceptable. And the American people shouldn't be putting up with it. So you need to wake up and educate yourself and others. And we need to start doing it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Start educating yourself and finding out who your real enemy is. Another solution that I've come up with, and I see this time and time again from people who call themselves left-wing, right-wing, conservative, liberal, whatever little catchy phrase that you've bought onto that they fed you, is too many of us, not me, but too many of the people are still continue to go to these same thugs and ask them for favors. Folks, it doesn't work. You can't go to thugs and ask them for favors. So it doesn't matter if it's more government, more programs, you want to have the law, the local city crack down on your neighbor over here, whatever it is. Anytime you empower the statist enemy, we all lose. Bottom line. You don't go to thugs and ask them for services. Break free from that. That empowers them. That doesn't empower you. That only empowers them. Some basic tips on independence. If you still have the capabilities, you know, gardening is fine. It's the best vegetables and fruits I believe you'll find. If you can do it. I went over to a friend's house of mine yesterday. Had a nice garden out back. No pesticides. Hadn't been sitting in the store. Hadn't been handled by a lot of people. And I actually ate a good number of his vegetables out of his garden. Homeschool your kids. It doesn't do any good to, and I know I'm a hypocrite on this because I'm still tithing my children to the state. But if you have the capability and the and the wherewithal, consider homeschooling your kids and getting them out of the statist enemy school system. The Second Amendment. Second Amendment wasn't put in there for duck hunting. We're hearing this a lot now in the so-called media. We don't need guns for duck hunting. That's not what it was in there. That's not what the Second Amendment was put in the Bill of Rights for. It was to put in the Bill of Rights to protect us from them. People I'm talking about here tonight. Work with patriotic groups in the local area. I happen to be support life. I don't necessarily believe that the local pro-life people have any idea of who their enemy is. I understand that. But they're still, work with different groups that at least are standing up for issues that have value. And see if you can become teachers and educators within those groups. Use various forums that are available. Talk radio, access channels. Be strong about it. And don't back down to those, to the people that are still brainwashed, because you fear what they might say might hurt your feelings, or you don't want to be labeled somebody like Jeff Davis or something like this. Be strong and bold. Have the moral courage to stand up for values and stand up for right and wrong. Back these people down when the propaganda hits them. Back them down. That's important. I've been seeing this in the last couple of months or so on some of these shows down here when I do get a chance to watch them. That's very encouraging. Some brainwashed guy calls up attacking me or attacking somebody or attacking some idea that's freedom and liberty. Get on that phone and say, I think that caller, he's the one that's wrong. He's the one that's delusional. Start backing these people down. And be strong. Have the moral courage to do it. Learn, pray. This is one thing I'm going to say. I think we need to pray to God for help in this and guidance in this. Because we've got some serious problems here in America. And we need that spiritual guidance. And finally, folks, learn alternative ways. Ways that you can improve yourself and your life and your family's life and your friends and the people you love. Alternative health care, information gathering, any type of information that makes you independent from the statist enemy. Learn that, copy that knowledge, pass that knowledge on. Tape these shows, pass them to friends. I'm not up here trying to be a big hero. I'm just doing what I believe is right. I got started in this 8 years ago, and I've pondered onto some things, and I'm just doing this because I believe it's right. And that's what you need to do. Excuse me. With that, folks, we're going to go ahead and put up a slate, and we're going to be right back here with Alex Jones. He's going to come in. He did some editing for us today, and I appreciate that. We got some footage coming to you. It's about 10 minutes of footage from a show yesterday on 60 Minutes, something I've been telling you about for a long time, and now they're throwing it in your face. And I actually haven't seen it, and I appreciate Alex's work on this. He was down here editing for us today, and I appreciate that. And as soon as we get the shot back up, we'll bring Alex up. And Alex is a good friend of mine, stands up strong. I want to welcome to the Jeff Davis Show here tonight. He's a fairly regular guest down here. He's a good man, good young, strong man, stands up for right and wrong. Alex Jones.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
Tell us about what we're going to be seeing here, Alex.
Well, I only had about 45 minutes to do some editing today, and I didn't do the best job with the voiceovers, and I'm going to do a better job on it and have it on my show. You were going to be on my show last Tuesday, but then I wasn't told till I got down here that my show had been canceled or my live time had been canceled due to some mix-ups, but that's not a big deal. So I do want to get you back on as soon as possible, and also you've been on my radio almost every week now, and you're becoming very popular. In fact, some people think it's the Jeff and Alex show. And so
wow, that's a pretty good team.
You've done a powerful presentation here. I just want to tell all the people out there, no matter how incredibly giant this sounds, because you don't try to run other people's lives or you're not that complex. These guys are masters of control of civilization because they're ruthless. And they're willing to weaken whole civilizations. And you're asking, how can they control all these hundreds of groups and then bring order out of chaos? It's because they control all the printing of money worldwide, all the central banks. They have money machines. They can create whatever they want. They have a brush and a clear palette. The only thing that stands up against them is intelligent people that are not afraid of what might happen to them at their jobs or with dangerous people out in the community. Me and Jeff have taken, especially Jeff's taken real dangerous stand, and I don't want to scare you out there, but it's actually worse than we. It's actually worse than we say to you. And I'm telling you, these guys, this century alone, have caused World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korean conflict. The transnational banks financed the Bolsheviks from the turn of the century. They controlled it. And that's just a documented fact. And you hear all the time these UT professors talking about how wonderful Cuba is. Cuba has death camps, my friends. Cuba is a hellhole. So is Russia. And America is adopting many of these socialist aims. And all I want to say to you out there is that what you're fixing to see, thanks for having me, Jeff.
You're welcome, Alex.
What you're about to see is about a little over 12 minutes or so of, and I'm being sarcastic on part of it, is last night's 60 Minutes, where they tell you that they got all these helicopters and all these weapons and all these armored personnel carriers and all these automatic weapons and grenade launchers.
And it's in our best answers.
Well, it's just free.
Free.
They're only taking it because it's free. Well, excuse me, we paid taxes to buy all these helicopters and weapons. They call it Army surplus, but a bunch of it, they say on the tape, is brand new weapons. And
I think the most important question,
well,
let me just ask the most important question in understanding this, is this country was founded upon peace officers, protect and serve the public. What are these folks now doing with this type of artillery wearing black ski masks?
Well, it's now law enforcement.
Better wake up, folks.
And they're dressed just like Nazis. And the important part of it is what you're fixing to see is 60 Minutes footage, about 5-6 minutes of it. And then later I show you Lair NewsHour footage from September 23rd, that you've seen before if you watch this program, where they do tell you that it's the military, and they're training with the military, and it's multi-jurisdictional task forces. 60 Minutes says it's kind of like a big...
Which means we don't know who it is.
Exactly. 60 Minutes acts like it's just kind of a big boo-boo, and well, why does this small town have 23 helicopters with infrared? Well, it's kind of just because it's free and they can't help it. Why is the federal government giving all the local law enforcement this? Why are they giving them free training? Why are they giving them direction? Because they are creating, it's already here, a police state. And then
very accelerated.
Yes, it's very depressing to talk about this. Then we're going to show you some clips from what happened out at Waco. We're going to show you BATF and FBI talking about how they're going to kill people. We show you people talking about killing. This is called military operations. That's what they're planning for you and your families. This is happening. This is world history. We're not extremists. If you doubt this, you are extreme dupes. You are extreme fools. You're extreme dumbbells, to use Jeff's words. Guys, it's dangerous not to worry about this. It's dangerous to let federal control of your local... See, I used to think, a year ago, I thought Jeff was full of it on a few things, like the police being under federal control, until a SWAT team commander here in Austin walked up to me where I lift weights. I'd seen him on television. I've told the story 100 times. He said, Alex, it's worse than you say. The drug war is about controlling competition. The drug war is about this. The drug war is about that. The drug war totally corrupt. We're training with the military at air bases. We have helicopters. We have infrared. No one knows about it. And I said, Jeff, you must be right. Now I'll open my mind up to this, and I was just brought some documentation that I'll have probably tonight when I'm on Bad Bob's show, coming up at 11, about the actual military documents about civilian labor camps that they have built that are just waiting for you, otherwise known as concentration camps. We better go to the tape.
Yeah, we better. Alex, I want to say
Thanks
that
for
I
having me,
appreciate
Jeff.
well, I think we'll have a few minutes to wrap it up here.
You did an excellent presentation.
Thank you. Let me just mention, folks, the Downsides Government Seminars coming up next Sunday, or this Sunday.
And this is the one that you're not going to be at.
Right, I'm going to be.
But you're usually there.
I'm going to be out of town, yeah. And February 22nd, Waco Remembrance, 5 years later. And coming up this Thursday at 5 o'clock, Alex is co-hosting it. The Jeff Davis there's the Waco Remembrance, 5 years later, out at the Chariot Inn. That's one that's particularly close to my heart. I'm actually moderating and hosting that one. And this Thursday, on Christmas Day, 5 p.m., Channel 10, Alex and I believe the title of the show is it's either Are You a Practicing Communist or Domestic Terrorist in America?
Absolutely. Let's go.
God bless you, Austin. We'll be back after
Long
we
live
go
the
here.
Constitution and death to the police state, death to New World Order.
God bless you.
Doing an
I
excellent
think
job.
we can wrap it up here. We
Yeah.
have a little bit of time.
Personnel carriers, grenade launchers, automatic weapons. But what they don't tell you is that these people are training with the military. But we do have tape from the September 23rd, 1997 Lair News Hour where they do admit that they are training with the military. And I personally, Alex Jones, have talked to SWAT team people here in Austin who are training with the military, not just SWAT team, but also police. They're under federal control, my friends. This 60 Minutes piece is an absolute whitewash. But even here, they admit that it's out of control and accelerating. Then we'll show you some clips from Senate hearings, and we'll show you some statements by SWAT team people about how they're honed to kill, and much more information to show you about the growing police state in this country. Red flags should be going up everywhere about the 1997 version of the Joyce-Stunstaffel of Hitler's day. Now, to the actual evidence. And remember, they're covering it up. They're not giving you the facts. And the facts are they're training with the military. The most key central point of this story is that it's all this free equipment, all these free helicopters, and they just happen to be getting all this free equipment. It's not free. You pay for it as taxpayers. And most importantly, they leave out that it's under federal control. End of story. Now get to the actual evidence.
That's a fully automatic U.S. Army M16 machine gun. 6 more piled in the closet. Not to be issued to soldiers, but to all 7 policemen in tiny, sleepy Jasper, Florida, population 2,000, where they haven't had a murder in 7 years. One of the nation's largest police aviation units, with half a dozen helicopters in the air and a hangar full of spares. Los Angeles? Dallas? No, Little Marion County, Florida. Rural, horse country, quiet. Except, that is, for the racket made by all those helicopters.
It's an Air Force.
It's been called many things.
Ken Ergel is Marion County Sheriff.
The Ergel Air Force, it's been called.
Or Ergel Air, or whatever it may be. We're proud of whatever name someone wants to put on it.
Ken Ergel is especially proud of what he paid for his Air Force. Nothing. All of his helicopters, a grand total of 23, came from the U.S. military. Same for those machine guns in Jasper. Same for police forces all around the country. In the last 3 years, under a law passed by Congress to help local law enforcement, the Pentagon has given away almost $900 million worth of surplus aircraft, vehicles, weapons, and other assorted stuff.
Can you put a dollar figure on how much you have actually gotten from the military in this program?
Well, currently we have over $41 million worth of equipment that we've been able to acquire.
Acquiring all those helicopters and spare parts stacked to the ceiling was just the beginning.
This is the Rolls-Royce with wings.
How about a motorhome? And while you're at it, take a bunch of trucks and trailers. Oh, and don't forget the tank. Actually, the military calls it a peacekeeper.
It's a tank.
It's an armored personnel carrier that has tank-like qualities.
Looks like Nazi Germany to me. Here comes the armored personnel carriers. Wow, this is from the sheriff's office. Right down in Houston, we've shown you footage on other shows of Apache helicopters right there on the tarmac. All for your best interest. Don't worry.
You know, if I walked into this hangar, I would think Marion County had the highest crime rate in the United States of America. That's the way it would look to me.
Well, with any county, with any state, with any nation, you always have to prepare for the threat of war.
Do you really think about it in terms of preparing for war? That's the mentality?
My war is on the streets fighting the criminal.
And that is the mentality, and it's out of control. And what they're not telling you on this program is, again, looks like a real fair newscast, but the central point is they're training with the military. They're not just getting all this free equipment. That is totally unconstitutional. That is wrong, and we have got to start raising some hell. On the whole 60-minute piece, this is the only true statement right here, and listen to this retired police chief tell you about what it is to have police and tanks with automatic weapons.
But we have to realize by giving lots of police officers these weapons, there'll be more shots fired in densely populated areas, and there'll be more innocent people hit with it.
These police forces are gearing up and militarizing at the very same time that crime rates have been dropping precipitously.
SWAT, or Special Weapons and Tactics, has been a part of big city policing for decades. But now, just as with helicopters and M16s, small towns are getting into the act.
Move!
A recent study found that more than 2/3 of departments in cities between 25 and 50,000 people have their own team.
Woo! 6-6, 2.04, time to beat.
This is the University of Central Florida SWAT team. That's right, campus cops with a SWAT team. A campus that's right in the middle of Orange County, Florida, where Sheriff Kevin Barry has his own huge SWAT team.
They're right down the road, aren't they?
They're right down the road.
The University of Central Florida has its own SWAT team? If the University of Central Florida asked for your help, you wouldn't deny.
Well, we got to take care of the kids. I mean, we got to have all this loving so the IRS is safe. Well, listen to this guy now. He's fixing to tell you about how they're big and bad and scary, just like the Nazis were, but they're still here to keep you safe, so don't complain.
People, do they look bad? Do they look mean? Probably so. But they got a job to do, and they take it very seriously.
Yeah, they take it serious, and they're going to take it serious. We'll show you what they've been doing the last few years, just what we can find out about in the next few minutes. Now, they're fixing to tell us to step back and look at this terrible arms race that's just on accident by the federal government. We're supposed to just not worry about it and not think about it too much, and that it's not a big problem, but we should stop the arm race. The media has known about this for 15 years. This has been going on or longer. And now that they've fully armed up everybody, it's under full federal control, and we're starting to find out about it, they can warn about the impending doom.
So I don't think the answer is to escalate the arms race in America.
Well, you say we shouldn't have an arms race, but we are. We're in it.
We're in it, and I think it's time that we step back.
Step back and look at this. It's the Army's weapons warehouse in Anniston, Alabama. Crate upon crate, stack upon stack, row upon row of surplus M16s just waiting to be claimed.
With respect to the... Well, this was not an attack. You know, we were told they weren't going to be shooting, and yet they're firing what amounted to mortars or rockets at us, these ferret rounds, which sounded like a mortar.
Were you afraid?
Yes. With respect to the use of military weapons, these pieces of equipment were unarmed, as I understand it, and were
contracted. I mean, it was like a good rent-a-car.
A good rent-a-car? A tank going into a building?
These pieces of equipment were unarmed, as I understand it, and were contracted. I mean, it was like a good rent-a-car.
A good rent-a-car? A tank going into a building?
That's what it comes down to. You got tanks smashing into a home, pumping in a deadly gas with children in there with gas masks that were too small, playing the sounds of dying, squealing rabbits and heavy metal music for days on end. They could have caught Koresh any day. He went into town all the time. Loving the children.
Was the FBI posture one of concern for the children? We found this candid interview with an FBI agent the morning of the fire particularly insightful.
Quite a specimen, I tell you. I just, in all my years involved with SWAT, I've never seen a gentleman like this that I've learned so much from in just the short time I've been around him. It's just awesome is about the only word to describe him.
Honed to a fine edge, honed to kill.
The techniques used on the Branch Davidians are well-known brainwashing techniques. Cut off all communication with the outside world, all utilities, all food supplies, and subject the person to extreme stress. Lights, noise, tanks charging the windows, and constant propaganda on loudspeakers.
Quite a specimen, I tell you. I just, in all my years involved with SWAT, I've never seen a gentleman like this that I've learned so much from in just the short time I've been around him. It's just awesome is about the only word to describe him.
Honed to a fine edge, honed to kill.
Okay, you just saw the 60 Minutes piece. Now you saw some loving things that they wanted to talk to you about, talk about how they care about the kids. Listen to these guys from the Naval Warfare Research Center with local police admitting that they have control over local police departments and using equipment, and that they are training. Very, very vital that you understand that 60 Minutes held this back from you.
In addition to the new technology, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of surplus military equipment is being transferred to local police as a result of military downsizing. Army helicopters that once did service in Vietnam are now used for surveillance in American cities. Police departments are refurbishing armored personnel carriers acquired from the military and are building their weapons inventories. Many in law enforcement and the military are reluctant to discuss joint training, but Lieutenant Sid Hale, a SWAT instructor with the LA Sheriff's Department, says military training for police has arisen out of need.
You were telling me before about training with Marines, training with SEALs. Could you explain what you've done?
Now, some of this stuff I'm going to have to dance around on because it's classified, just so you know.
Okay.
In fact, I'm starting to get nervous even just thinking about it. But no, we've trained with most of the special operations units in the military.
What kind of training?
A lot of urban movement, maritime interdiction operations, hostage rescue, a lot of long rifle training, sniper training.
To many police officers,
now just remember that. You've got a local law enforcement commander sitting there telling you it's top secret, and you aren't freaking out, red flags aren't flying up. Huh, my God, top secret and it's local police with the federal government? Wake up now. Now I'm going to show you a few more clips from the Urban Warfare Naval Center. Then we'll show you a few more of them bragging about killing people, and then that'll be enough. I think anybody should wake up after this. Get local control of our police. That's what I want. That's what we all should have.
In Orlando, Florida, the SWAT team not only looks militaristic, it also has strong ties to the military, in particular to the Naval Air Warfare Training Center, where the team has begun to train on equipment developed by the Navy.
Okay, so as soon as you hear the grenade, that's your cue. Kill.
Now listen carefully. They're talking about how to kill right here, not about how to keep people alive. This is very scary.
Okay, so as soon as you hear the grenade, that's your cue. Kill.
I know real soldiers, and real soldiers don't laugh about killing. These are little punks that have been raised in our degenerate society, and they're the same thing as Nazis, and they're out of control. We better stand up against this, and I mean now. End federal control of our local police, damn it. Well, yes, there you have it. More of your friends in our society today. It's getting really dangerous. Ski mask wearing so-called law enforcement. Even the Nazis didn't do that. This is a very dangerous precedent. And again, the key point is federal control over our local police. Militarization, fascism. Wake up. People are waking up. And since the realignment of 94, they've really expanded this. They do not want us getting rid of this big government, so they're going to force it on us. This federal government is not for you. And this growing police state is to make sure that you stay cowed sheep. Now, they're trying to con you just with media BS, but they know more and more people are waking up, so they're gearing up. Make no mistake, and they've got mindless blockheads working for them. Again, this is not an attack against real law enforcement, but it is against civilian military police. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Hello, Austin, Texas, and we are back. Just a couple quick minutes here. Don't forget that this Thursday, Christmas Day, pagan holiday, nonetheless, Thursday at 5 o'clock, Channel 10, Jeff Davis Real News Hour takes on Peter Jennings and Dan Rather. Alex, closing comment, brother.
Well, as I have the Today's Awesome American Statesman right here. Monday, December 22nd, from A3, it says, report, Gulf troops given vaccine despite objection. Cleveland, an Army Review Board ruled it would be unethical to give soldiers heading to the Persian Gulf an experimental vaccine without warning them that its effects were unknown. Well, they gave this to them in 90, and the French didn't give it to their troops, and none of their troops got sick. The plan dealer reported Sunday. However, the ruling was overridden after the Department of Defense cited national security concerns. So again, if you're in the military, they hate you. They don't even care about you, obviously. And it's just ridiculous. They've sold chemical and biologicals to all our enemies. There's some very evil people running the show. I think Jeff and I have shown that. And everything you know in this world is propaganda and lies. I'm sorry. They lace it with some truth, but this is what it comes down to. They want your kids. They want your life. They want your finances. They want your private property. They're coming at, I mean, the United Nations.
Using every angle they can.
The United Nations isn't taking over. I'll tell you who's taking over. The people that control the United Nations. It's only one finger on the hand of this growing fascism. So please wake up. Please start talking to your friends. Please do something. Because this is world history repeated over and over again. But now they've got all this technology. And they've got you focused on all this bread and circus.
Alex, when's your show tomorrow night? You're not live tomorrow, right? Is that correct?
Yes, it's a tape show tomorrow evening, and it is from 8:30 to 11, God willing, and then I'll be back next Tuesday for exposing corruption.
Let me also mention, folks, that Alex and I are scheduled to be on Teledemocracy this Friday at 8:30 p.m. Was that Channel 10 or 16?
I believe it's Channel 10.
10 or 16.
Look for us at 10 on Friday.
Yeah, 8:30.
Oh, 8:30.
8:30 p.m. Live with Greg Erickson, who's a friend of ours. And with that, folks, I want to just say one thing. Like I say, it's time to wake up, and people are waking up. And like I say, the Real News Hour starts this Thursday. Alex is co-hosting. He's got a show coming up here at 11. What's that, on Channel 16?
I believe tonight at 11 I should be on.
And folks, get control of your life, or obviously these people are going to do it for you. That's the bottom line.
I mean, people, this is real. They are creating. It's already here, but they are I mean, look, now they're just now telling us about this police state. And,
there you go.
And plus, there's a lot of lies. It's been building for 20 years. I mean,
all right, Alex. God bless the United States. We'll see you back next Monday, folks, hopefully.
Long live the Republic and
death.
Yes,
the New World
death,
Order.
the New World Order. And I mean that. These criminals from Europe that control our nation now, believe me, the European Union's going online. They're out of control. Their new currency's coming on, and they're going to be very, very, very dangerous.
God bless you.
We have a organization. It's only here in Gonzales. Somebody's trying to get by. Go back a little bit. We have an organization here, a nonprofit organization. It's Gonzales Association of Patriots. But every month we do something really good for some lucky person or people. And when we had the hurricane down there, boy, did we, that was a lot of money. We usually don't go out of Gonzales, but that was a little bit, to see those people and the trailer parks and stuff really hurting and stuff. We went down there and helped them.
Okay.
And but we're going to help a real nice elderly lady. She barely makes her bills, Peggy. So I know she's going to be appreciative of the $100 that we're going to give her. And so let's go over and surprise her. We've already mowed her yard, so she'll probably tell you thank you about that. But then we're going to surprise her.
Okay, great.
Here's what you're getting this month.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right there. It's awarded by, because I know you need help with your food and everything else. So that's from the Gonzales Association Patriots. We always try to do something good for somebody every single month. We try.
I love you, Mike.
Great.
I love everybody. Thank you.
Well, there you go.
Everybody.
Buy what you want with it. Buy you something nice once in a while.
I love you, Mike.
Yeah.
God bless you.
You know, people donate money to us, and that's how we get this money.
Thank you.
So if anybody, wants to know more about our organization, we're here in Gonzales, Texas at P.O. Box 481.
Thank y'all very much, and God bless everybody that helps people around that are in need. God bless y'all.
Okay, we'll see you next time, Peggy.
Que pase buen día, señora.
Gracias.
Hello, Austin, Texas. My name's Alex Jones. This is Exposing Corruption. We are live. We are standing up against the corrupt forces that would enslave America and the world, literally. Tonight we have a story that is one of the most important events in U.S. history. And you've never heard me say that, have you? No, you haven't. Black helicopters have been attacking the South Texas coast. Now, we went down to Kingsville. They were attacked Monday night. We went down there Wednesday and Thursday. After this program Wednesday night, last Wednesday, I left. You're going to see video from the next morning and the next day in Kingsville. And next week, we'll show even more. The UN piece has been put off for 3 weeks. We'll have to wait till later because so much more is happening, so much more is going on. The piece of information, well, there's so much here. There's so much happening. There's so much to deal with. In Kingsville, the sheriff was not notified, the fire chief was not notified, the county commissioners were not notified, and the police were not notified until several hours before the event. I left town, left Kingsville that Thursday, came back, and then Friday, Saturday morning, got the news from David M. Bresnahan, a national syndicated talk radio host, as well as one of the staff writers for WorldNet Daily, one of the fastest growing internet news sites, millions of hits a day. And he called me after I'd been down there to do the story, after I'd emailed him photos for his story that was breaking big on WorldNet Daily. He told me that something I didn't believe, and then I checked it out. I called the Corpus Christi Caller newspaper. Corpus Christi is almost 1 million people, guys. Large newspaper. I called, I checked it out online. They were attacked Friday, and Friday they didn't even tell the police or the mayor or anybody. They're becoming more arrogant. Now they're in San Antonio. Now you remember back in May, Ali Phillips, chief of police of San Antonio, threw them out for trying to bribe him, endangering public safety. Well, it's totally exploded. It's absolutely out of control. They're now at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, right in the middle of town. It's a small base compared to all the big bases on the periphery all around north, south, east, and west of San Antonio. They're doing it right in the middle of the town. It's meant as psychological warfare to educate the people of Texas that they better not play games. What is the Delta Force and the Night Stalkers, two separate groups, engaging in? From Special Forces Warfare Command in Fort Bragg. They're engaging in psychological warfare. Most of them don't even know what their mission entails. They just go practice taking over police stations, water treatment plants, refineries, things of this nature. Police ought to wake up and realize this. I'll probably, after my radio show tomorrow night, I'll probably go down to San Antonio and stake the situation out. I'll also have confirmation from Fort Hood and a listener from my national radio show in California, a lady who I've been getting the info for from over a year, that 100 experts in anti-terrorism are going to Corpus Christi, that they've already landed there. And we got reports before I got this that C-130s are landing
by the dozens at the Naval Air Station there in Corpus Christi, and that never happens anymore. We have major military movement. Let me repeat it for you one more time. Last Monday, Operation Last Dance kicked off in Kingsville, Texas, right outside of Corpus Christi, about 30 miles outside. Then, a little bit west of there in Corpus Christi, they attacked on Friday without the police even knowing. Now, we've got about a 29-minute, 30-minute piece we're going to run tonight. When we get back, I'm going to go through all these key news stories. There's one important thing to notice. When you go to WorldNet Daily, their lead story from today is the simple fact that Texas is being invaded, and now Fort Bragg spokesperson is who we interviewed last night on the radio. He is now admitting that they did use live fire, but trying to lie about it and saying that these rounds were for practice. It could not penetrate. Well, we have bullet holes. We have people reporting bullet holes. We have doors blown off their hinges. Practice rounds do not do that right in the middle of a populated city. The city itself has 25 to 30,000 people. The county, 50,000 people. Kingsville. But again, the story you're going to see is important. It's documentation, but it doesn't even go halfway far enough towards what happened in Port Aransas. In fact, let me read this article right offline. I have the Corpus Christi Caller from Wednesday of last week, the actual paper when I was in Corpus Christi, where they talk about how former Delta Force people are involved on the police department there in town. You can check that out from last Wednesday online at www.callertimes.com. Let me read this to you. Now listen to how they downplay the information when you first get into it. Military training disrupts Port A residents. Well, you bet it did. Local officials say they were unprepared for questions, complaints from residents about exercises. Now, the headline should be what's down here. Now, listen to this. From staff reports, the Department of Defense conducted training Friday in Port Aransas similar to exercises earlier this week in Kingsville. Channel 6 News reported. We had the footage from that. But we were unable to get it up here to the studio. It's aired here in Austin on Fox News 2 nights ago of the police station burning, the top floor burning. That was locked. We were unable to get into it. We can show you the damage on the bottom floor. Port Aransas Mayor Glenn Martin, the mayor, said he didn't know how to answer questions from residents about the training because he hadn't been notified. I didn't know what was going on, Martin said. They were calling me up and asking me about a bunch of black helicopters. Now, we have dozens of people on tape, from county officials to you name it, talking about black helicopters. We're going to play it for you. My God, I saw about 6 of them today as I was driving through Austin. Not flat green, black. Apaches and Blackhawks. You know, Blackhawks are called Blackhawks for a reason. They were flying without lights into a populated area. They hit the county judge's employee's power line and it fell over and caught a fire. That's 14 miles outside town. East of town. Then they come in and start opening fire on the police station. Oh, that's real good. They insert troops. They land on top of the Exxon Executive Building and blow out almost all the windows. A reporter comes out and they run up to him and put guns to his head and take his camera. We have this from David M. Bresnahan, talked to the reporter in depth, and I talked to them as well over the telephone. The guy called me back on a payphone. We go into the newspaper and they wouldn't talk to us and told us to leave. Now, it's key that when you go to WorldNet Daily, the news story today has links on it. When you're reading through the story, there'll be a part that's highlighted that says photos. Go to the photos. It's in the article. Go to. You can see digital photos, a digitized video from what you're about to see here. Okay? And then you will hear exact transcripts in some of the articles. There's about 8 of them now on WorldNet Daily by Joseph Ferreira. He's author of major books, also a national radio host as well. And, of course, the founder of WorldNet Daily. You can check that out. But David M. Bresnahan's articles are excellent. We have some plans that I'm going to be dealing with in the next few days. We're going to confront the enemy, don't you worry. I've sworn to do it. We stopped them from coming to Austin. They don't have a military base except for Camp Mabry here, and I don't think it's sufficient for them to do their attack here. They are defying the police chief in San Antonio. At WorldNet Daily, you can actually read the transcript. You can actually read the transcript. The story heading is the Army invading Texas? Officials residents concerned about rash of exercises. The transcript from the video you've seen 100 times of Ali Phillips is right here for you. Those that laugh at the internet. Live Congress is on the internet. Everything's on the internet. There's a lot of crap. There's a lot of great stuff like WorldNet Daily. One Texas police chief has complained about attempts to bribe him into letting Army Delta Force into his town training exercises. In-runs were done around me to various community leaders. You remember hearing all these quotes. In some places, that's called bribery. It's all here for you. I mean, this just shows how we're making the news. I've had 50 calls plus from TV stations, radio stations. I've been doing interviews on KTSA in San Antonio, many others, giving them the info. They're finally waking up here in Texas. NBC's TextNet has been picking it up at many different stations around the state. The full report was 2 minutes. The reporter was visibly shaken. The beta tapes are being sent to me to transfer to 3/4 to show you here next week. But we do it all ourselves. Mike Hanson, me, John, Buckley, and a few other people do all the work of a major news agency. We're exhausted. We're burning out. We're trying as hard as we can. Before we go to this tape, then we'll be back to actually get into some more detail for you. Repeat, this is Exposing Corruption. My name's Alex Jones. I've been fighting this stuff for around 4.5, 5 years now. And this story is unprecedented. Black helicopters attacked 2 South Texas towns. They also attacked, we now find out, several others. I'll list those later. It is absolutely incredible what is happening, guys. San Augustine and others. I mean, they're coming in after this first mission where some of the local officials knew. They told the police several hours before and had them go and get around and block off the streets in downtown Kingsville. Now, again, in Port Aransas, they did not warn them when they took over a refinery, did live firing explosions in front of everybody. People thought banks were being robbed. People were panicking. Police came out to the scene, but they weren't about to fire on big black helicopters. This sets the precedent, guys. It was in the New York Times, a small blurb yesterday. That's all. It's been all over talk radio, though, nationwide. It's absolutely incredible, this story that we've blown wide open with a little access TV show and a radio show here locally and my national radio show. The key area, and last night I interviewed this gentleman. His name is Thomas Sanchez. He is head of FEMA in that area. Let me read from WorldNet Daily. I'm the guy that turned this guy on him. We actually went to his offices, but he was out. We heard that he was very angry. The head of emergency management for Kingsville is the Federal Emergency Management Agency Coordinator, Thomas Sanchez. He is a highly decorated Vietnam veteran. Yeah, shot down twice. Navy veteran, wounded in Vietnam and retired after 30 years of service. He now continues to serve as the head of the military police unit for the Texas State Guard, which is under the National Guard. Do you hear that? This is not a kook. This is Federal Emergency Management Agency worker, Vietnam veteran, highly decorated, head of the Texas State National Guard. Think about it. Sanchez, and I interviewed him for 30 minutes last night, Sanchez has had extensive experience and training in special operations and has expressed deep concern to WorldNet Daily about events in Kingsville. He was asked what the purpose of the exercise was. He said that the plan involved a scenario that required military action because local police could not deal with civilians effectively. Now here's the training scenario. This is a scenario. Martial law has been declared through Presidential Powers and War Powers Act. Remember, he has a security clearance to this. And some citizens have refused to give up their weapons. They have taken over 2 of the buildings in Kingsville. The police cannot handle it, so you call on these guys. They show up and zap everybody, take all the weapons, and let the PD clean it up, described Sanchez of the scenario of the Night Stalkers were likely given. Night Stalkers, another cadre, the assassination cadre of the Delta Force. Sanchez says the military exercise in his town was illegal under the Posse Comitatus Act, which says the Presidential Decision Directive 25 has given an exception to special operations. He believes the men involved have total immunity from any legal action against them. Although PDD 25 is top secret, Sanchez has it because of his position with FEMA and has a security clearance. He would not provide a copy to WorldNet Daily. This is the real deal, guys. I interviewed him last night. I'm the guy that gave this guy to WorldNet Daily. He's down there running FEMA, head of the military police for the Texas National Guard. Vietnam veteran. This is not a joke. Again, the Night Stalkers are an assassination team. He'll even tell you that here in the article. They are practicing assassinating people at police stations, for God's sakes. Like terrorists are going to take over police stations filled with cops. That is asinine. Terrorists will take over schools and other things or blow up federal buildings, as Clinton has authorized the secret government to do. just like Hitler burnt the Reichstag. Okay, when we get back, I've got a whole passel of other news stories here, things that will blow you away. It's time to wake up. Black helicopters, secret military teams have attacked Port Aransas without any authorization, without any notification. They've been thrown out of San Antonio. They're now bivouacked, according to Fort Bragg's public relations person that we interviewed last night. It's also here in WorldNet Daily. They are there. They are prepared. They're moving forward, and they're going to have their exercise in San Antonio, right there in the middle of town at a small Army base, right in front of everybody. These other exercises were not on bases in the middle of Kingsville. Now, again, I just slapped this together today. It's 30 minutes long. I got 6 hours of this stuff, and it's incredible. So bear with us, sit back and watch it. This is Kingsville this Thursday after the aftermath. They were there pulling out fire damage, repairing the police station and the Exxon building, the Exxon executive building. This is a probing attempt to desensitize the public, to make them accept martial law. It also sets the precedent that police don't know they should fire on invasion forces. Remember, Clinton was trained in Europe. Clinton represents European interests who he's been at war with no fewer than 5 times in the last 200-something years. That's where the power comes from, not Japan, not China. China's being used to leverage us out economically in the balance of trade, with slave labor, with no environmental standards, with high tariffs on us when we have low tariffs on them. It's a deindustrialization policy to kick us back to the Stone Age. Compact city, slavery, with the cult mentality being phony environmentalism to take over property rights. This is exposing corruption. Again, my name is Alex Jones. I want to thank the crew. I want to thank the sponsor, 98.9 KJFK FM Radio. Let's go ahead and go to the important piece. Again, we're independent people standing up and struggling. And again, we'll put up the website for WorldNet Daily if you want to see photos of this and transcripts from the audio and video you're about to see, just to show the credibility of these stories that we blew wide open right here on this program. Not the first. Let's go to that.
On February 8th, 1999, in Kingsville, Texas, Army Special Operations Warfare Command from Fort Bragg attacked the town of Kingsville without notifying the fire department, the county judge, or the county sheriff's office. But you see, they were working hand in glove with the local police department for this surprise operation, or this surprise drill, they called it, that terrified local citizens who thought the bank was being robbed, that the police station was being attacked. And they did it about 200 feet from a nursing home. Think about this, America. But this, Kingsville isn't even that important compared to what happened to Port Aransas. Port Aransas, 4 days later, was attacked. And this time, they didn't even notify the local police or the mayor. Oh, by the way, citizens are reporting the helicopters as being black. This is an unbelievable story. Right here in Texas. When we got there, the workers were already putting on a new coat of fresh paint and pulling out the fire damage from the abandoned police station.
Boy, we can still smell the fire. You fixing this area where it burned through?
Yes, sir. Just sit here.
Hey, how you doing? Alex Jones from Austin, Texas. I got a radio show and a little TV show. What's your name?
Jerry McQueen.
Jerry McQueen?
Yes, sir.
So you're fixing the fire damage here?
Yes, sir. Boarding up the windows and doors.
So you're boarding up the windows and doors?
Yes, sir.
From Army Special Operations Command's work?
Yes, sir. Securing it so that way no vandalism or anything.
You're securing it, so no vandalism.
Well, they still tear things up.
So. Oh, I understand. No, we appreciate what you're doing. Just a few more questions if you have the time. I understand you're busy. Did you actually see Army Special Operations Delta Force?
I seen some of it. That was it.
What color were their uniforms?
I don't recall. It was dark and from a distance.
From a distance, you really couldn't make out their black uniforms very closely.
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
All different types of helicopters, or just mainly one type?
Mainly one type that I'd seen.
Was that Black Hawk?
I'm not sure. I don't
Larger
know.
Helicopters?
Medium size, I'd say.
Medium size. Were the police working with them in these exercises?
they had the streets blocked off.
Where was your vantage point?
Behind the bank.
Cool. So you were behind the bank, what, behind the police roadblocks?
Yeah, in behind them. So they wouldn't let you in close to it, so you just had to stay away from it.
How serious was the fire damage? I see you're having to...
It's just a little bit of things that are burnable inside the building. So I don't...
Oh, so basically this is a brick building, so the flammable things burned?
Yes. Just like wood and things like that, I guess.
So basically this building is burnt out on the inside?
Yeah, basically. It's center block. You're not going to hurt it much.
Yeah.
So it's just the things that are charcoaled on the inside.
Did the military come around here afterwards and clean up all the shell casings and things?
I'm pretty sure they did.
Did you hear weapons fire?
Yes, we heard machine guns, or we heard weapons.
You heard machine guns and explosions?
Yeah, there's explosion.
Keith, you go around inside while I keep it diverted, and I'll get us some of the fire damage footage.
Should give it a shot.
Juan Garcia.
Juan, what's your position here in the city of Kingsville?
Oh, I work for Malby Construction.
So y'all are just contracted out for the city to repair
just to secure the buildings. That's all. This building and the Exxon building. And that's it. I mean, that's our only job.
So now y'all are here just to secure and put the windows back in and kind of tear out some of the fire damage and things that were caused here to Army Special Warfare Command. Monday night and early Tuesday morning did their exercises here.
Right. That's all I know. As far as any of that, where they came from or what they are, I don't know.
Had you been told about it before?
They told us that we were going to be securing a building, and that's all. We had to work late at night and securing a building, and that's all they told us. So
we've talked to the assistant police chief and others, and they told us that it was a secret operation until the time that it actually transpired. Were you in town when it happened?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were. Like I said, we were waiting to seal off the building. So that's all they told us. That's all they told us we were going to be sealing off a building late at night, and that's all. That's
after it was broken into.
Right.
Mr. Garcia, if y'all were contracted out to secure the building, I would take it that y'all were here on site or quite near with some of the police that were also involved in the operation. Can you tell us what you saw and heard?
Basically what I saw was just helicopters flying around and gunfire and explosions, but the police were all there and they told us don't be calm, this is just an exercise.
Just be calm. And
yeah.
Were the police working with the military?
Yes, sir, they were. As far as I know. Because they sealed off the streets, in pretty much in a hurry.
Was there bullet holes inside?
Yeah, we saw some stuff like that, and that's you couldn't hear very much because there was a lot of noise, the choppers and stuff.
How many choppers?
I can't recall. I would say like 6. I don't, I didn't count them. There were small ones and big ones. So.
Oh, small ones and big ones. We were told there were actually some attack Apache type aircraft, and then also some Blackhawks in support that were actually delivering the troops.
Right. I guess. Like I said, I don't know the difference between the helicopters, but there was several big ones and some small ones and stuff.
So you saw several big ones and some small ones. Can you try to give us a ballpark figure?
I would say 5, 6. Somewhere on there. I don't remember.
So 2 or 3 small ones and 2 or 3 big ones?
Yeah. There wasn't very many big ones. I think there was only like 2 big ones, that's it. And then the rest were just small.
So 2 large helicopters and 4 small helicopters?
Right.
That's about what you saw? Mm-hmm. And you say that, can you tell us, were they coming down from ropes from the helicopters?
I couldn't see that, sir. I don't know. Like I say, we saw them, but they just flew by, and when we weren't at a vantage point to see what was actually happening.
Okay, we're here right off 6th Street in downtown Kingsville, down here on the South Texas coast, near the Gulf of Mexico. Can you tell us, sir, exactly what color these helicopters were?
Black. Yes, I mean, it was real dark. I mean, you couldn't see anything, so I just...
There were no markings like on other aircraft or lights. It was just black helicopters.
Yeah, basically, yeah. That's
your
all.
name's Juan Garcia. You're the head of this...
I'm a supervisor just for Malby Construction.
Malby Construction, and y'all were contracted. Y'all weren't told exactly what was going to happen. Again, you were just basically told that you were going to come out to site to secure some buildings after some damage was done to them. And you say that you saw black helicopters, heard weapons fire and explosions.
Right. That's it. And just black.
Black helicopters.
Yes, sir.
And you couldn't see any markings. Were there lights on the helicopters?
No, sir. Not when I saw them. Not at all.
And how low were they?
Oh, right above the buildings. You know, real low.
Real low.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly dangerous if it's not an emergency. That's incredibly dangerous if it's not an emergency situation. Well, listen. Thanks a lot for your time. I do appreciate it. No problem. We were unable to get into the second floor and show you the total fire damage. We were able to get into the bottom floor and document some of this unprecedented activity in Kingsville, Texas. Again, all part of desensitizing the public. Black helicopters, jokes for years. We've been conditioned by the mainstream media to laugh at it. Now they're engaging in what I would call terrorist activities, endangering the public safety, right next door to a nursing home. We'll talk to some people a little bit later. It's out of control. It's out of control. Now, this is Kingsville. Port Aransas is even worse. We haven't got a chance to get down there yet. Friday, this was on Monday. Friday, they attacked Port Aransas without even telling the police, without even telling the mayor. I mean, this is an act of war. This is out of control. Well, this is quite bizarre. We've gotten here, and they've already come in and pulled out all the flammable areas, put in new wood right here. Get a shot of that. And they're repainting on the outside to cover up the fire damage, literally 2 days after it happened. They told us they fixed the Exxon station the night of the event. This is absolutely incredible, but it just goes along with Delta Force's classical training, with what they did in Miami, firing into an all-night restaurant. Here, low-flying helicopters. This is endangering public safety, and it's all about getting police, local law enforcement, sheriff's departments, you name it, used to working hand in glove with the United States military for martial law exercises. Delta came right in here, guys. God, it reeks in here of smoke. Look at that door, get a shot of that. All the doors have that done to them.
Well, you can see this
residue
left that's from their door blaster rounds. It's a ceramic stuff that they shoot it with, a 12 gauge. Blows out the lock.
Getting a shot of that, Mike? Yeah. Quite interesting. Try to get close with that yourself, Keith. Well, here's special operations style, ladies and gentlemen. Ransack police station.
Done, but they had to use the boys.
Yeah. Well, here we are in... Yeah, go ahead and shine your light that way. Yeah. Just stand here and shine it that way, or go back into there as we pan. We shine it on that and then pan over to that as we talk. Well, here we are at the abandoned police station. It's been totally, completely ransacked, and you've got the blast points here on the doors from their special ceramic shotgun slugs. And then let's get a shot of the door, show them what it does to a door. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is Army Special Operations Delta Force style. Special Operations Command. Training all over the U.S. hundreds of times a year. All part of training local police to accept an out-of-control police state. Oh, yeah, here's all the fire damage. Look at all this. This is fire, see? But where, if it smells like fire and there's soot everywhere, where'd it come from? I mean, what, I guess all the paper and stuff that was in here burned. Yeah. This building's interesting. It's just all burnt, I believe, is the word. Oh, somebody left their water bottle there from the work they were doing. You look down on the ground there, especially right-hand corner, you can see all of the soot and pieces of burnt wood, but they'd already torn all that out. Most of the fire damage, we're told, was, again, on the top story that was locked. And I'm not going to break the law. I'm not going to bust the lock open. We're told it was full of bullet holes. Again, all for your safety in the middle of civilian-populated areas. That'll train them good. That'll train them to be slaves and accept slavery, and next time black helicopters drop by, maybe a foreign nation, the police will say, well, that's just what they do. They just blow things up. Again, this is Kingsville, where some of the locals were informed. The citizens, well, they were not informed. In the middle of a populated area, but it's key to understand that in Port Aransas, and we haven't gotten a chance to get down to Port Aransas yet, according to the newspapers down there and interviews we've conducted over the telephone, the mayor and police chief and sheriff were not even informed when they attacked an oil refinery. And here you have the workers putting the second coat of paint over the fire damage. We actually talked to them, and they admitted this earlier, and we could play it again if you want. But what's the point? Just ridiculous activity. Just nauseating to accept this type of slavery. You're being desensitized. I was told this building was scheduled for demolition, but of course they're painting it. And I'll tell you why the city's doing that. So they don't want people to see what the secret military teams are doing right here in America. Delta Force style. Now, we're y'all's friends, man. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in the country right now. Believe me, this is not good. But it's for our children. It's for the love. Bill Clinton's such a loving liberal. He's always abhorred the military, but now that it's his, oh, yes. Delta Force munitions, a solid ceramic slug used to blast open doors. So the jackbooted thugs don't even have to hurt their feet anymore. They just got these special team members to use the 70mm or 12-gauge shotgun slug and blast their way to victory. So loving. Again, Kingsville, Texas. Very close to Corpus Christi. We're about 25 miles from the coast. The site of Army Special Operations Command training, Delta Force style. Black uniforms working hand in hand with local law enforcement, helping to break down the barriers between the federal police state and your local cop on the beat. Keep them local. That's constitutional. And for those that say this has anything to do with national security, our borders are wide open. U.S. Customs doesn't even search the majority of crates that come into our major ports, $900 billion a year. And U.S. Customs admits that they call and warn the warehouses 2 days before and tell them what crates they're going to come search. This is total corruption. So for them to say it's national security and terrorists are going to attack and we've got to give up our rights and all the rest of this garbage is a complete and total fraud. It's about a police state. Government knows that you're waking up to what they're doing. They want your property. Government's growing, and they're not going to back down until you stand up. Government's not kindler and gentler, and the age of big government has just begun. And we're here in Kingsville, Texas, the site of Army Special Operations Command training, Delta Force style. They came in here and burned out much of the inside of the old police department. But now they're over there painting and pulling out and taking out the fire damage and all the rest of this. What are they trying to hide? Right here on Exposing Corruption. Actually landed the helicopters. Yes, they did. They landed. I was told that some people came down out of from ropes, actually.
Well, they landed some helicopters on that building over there, that old Exxon building on top. 4 helicopters landed on that, and then some landed on the ground and some dropped off the ropes.
So how many helicopters total?
I'd say about 7 or 8.
7 or 8. We were told that there were all different type configurations, large helicopters, small helicopters.
That is correct. That's what I saw.
Out here in Kingsville, Texas, every window in the Exxon building has been smashed out. Every single window. And they've come in and boarded up every single one of them. This is from the explosions. They came and blew a hole in the roof, we're told, and the large helicopters landed here, again, at the Exxon administrative building that's been shut down for some time. Blew a hole in the roof and inserted troops inside and practiced killing the evil terrorist.
and the police, again, were nearby helping as the relationship was growing. It's so much fun.
The Kingsville Record reporter that heard the noise outside and came rushing out with his camera to take pictures, and his camera was taken away and he was told to go back inside.
From the Exxon building, and again, I want to get a shot of the fact that all the windows were blown out. Brand new plywood has been put up, and the reporter came out, and how dare him come right out in front of his business from the Kingsville Daily.
Sit down. I'll find out now.
Okay. What's your name, sir?
I'm John Womack. Hey.
John Womack. Nice to meet you.
You guys go ahead and have a seat.
Alex Jones, John.
How you doing, Alex?
Good to meet you.
Okay. Turn the camera off.
Okay.
Please take it outside.
Oh, you want to stay outside?
Yeah, I want the camera outside.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike. What about audio? Can we get audio?
Just let me clear my people, y'all.
Fantastic.
He's in a meeting. Why don't you guys come back later if need be?
The person that had the camera taken is in a meeting?
No. My manager, the guy who runs the publisher, runs the newspaper.
Okay, I'm not trying to be, if y'all called me up in Austin, I'd listen to y'all.
Yeah.
Basically, we're just trying to find out if it happened or not.
I understand. It's not my job.
I understand.
I got a paper put out.
Have you heard the story?
No, I've not heard the story.
Should we really come back later, or are you just kind of saying?
Wasting time.
Oh, we're wasting our time?
Yep.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Audio.
I got it all.
The entire front entrance that we're told was glass and metal by the lady across the street who will not speak on camera from the Kingsville Publishing Company, the local newspaper, the Kingsville Record, says that yes, this was all metal trimmed glass windows. Here, well, all blown away. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise. That's ridiculous. They blew out every window in the structure. Look at it. Must have been some powerful explosives. I'd like to see the inside of this building. And again, you got the newspaper right across the street, won't even talk to us. About the reporter that allegedly had his camera stolen. What's your name?
Judy Hayes.
Judy Hayes, Alex Jones. Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
What's your position here?
I'm the lieutenant in charge of the patrol division.
Oh, we're told that Monday evening of this week, there was a Delta Force operation from Fort Bragg, otherwise known as Army Special Operations Command. Can you tell us how many helicopters were involved?
I can tell you that Monday night there was a joint training session between the United States Army and the Kingsville Police Department. The Army was doing some sort of extraction type thing. They used 8 helicopters. Our training involved sealing off the area as if we were involved in taking care of a hazardous materials incident. So we were rerouting traffic and making sure that there was no civilian foot traffic in the area. So we got quite a bit of training in that area.
Did any of your SWAT team, or I see you have 2 officers look like they're SWAT trained, did they assist the Delta Force in any way?
The only participation on the part of the Kingsville Police Department was in a hazardous materials training session. We did not participate in any way with what the Army was doing.
We're now at the Clyburg County Kingsville Fire Department, and we wanted to talk to the chief. He was out taking care of business, so he called us over the phone, and we did a conference call. I think you'll find this conversation quite interesting. Then we'll get to some other citizens talking about black helicopters.
I am the fire chief.
Okay, you are the fire chief. Thank you very much. We do appreciate you taking time out to talk to us. You were called, again, 6 p.m. in the evening, several hours before the exercise started, and you had never before been given any information on this?
No, I hadn't.
You hadn't?
I had not had any information prior to the time that the chief advised me.
But y'all were able to get the fire under control once y'all got there?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think what probably happened is when the fire started, it seems that they tried to extinguish it themselves with dry chemicals, and they were unable to, and that's why the fire escalated to the point that it did.
Oh, so the Delta Force tried to put out the fire themselves?
there was evidence to that.
What's your name again, sir?
Carlos Lerma.
Carlos Lerma?
Yeah.
Well, it's good to meet you, City Manager. We just like to ask you some simple questions.
As a matter of fact, they used an exercise to secure an area where we might have a hazardous material escape, like from the railroad tracks. We have trains that carry some materials that could be hazardous to you, and sometimes they have spills or an accident on the bypass. So they practiced an exercise to secure an area.
Oh, so local law enforcement actually worked with them?
Yeah.
Actually worked with
Special Forces.
Special Forces from Fort Bragg?
Yeah.
Delta Force?
Yeah.
Are they planning to train anytime in the future again here?
Not here. As far as I know, no. They're going to do it somewhere else.
Did they tell you where?
No.
Somewhere in Texas, or?
Yeah, in Texas.
Somewhere in Texas. Name?
Gracie.
Gracie? Gracie, you live here in Kingsville?
Yes, sir. I live in that building right there in Casa Ricardo.
Wow, you live real close. Did you hear about the helicopter assault on the old police station before it happened?
No. Until that day. There were all these over there and right there. I'm sorry.
No.
And all that time, all of there'd be no, just around us like that.
And basically, were you at home when you heard the explosions?
Well, for a matter of fact, I have gone for a walk. And I sit, and then when I got here...
You poor thing, you were actually out here.
I sit on the bench, and then I got scared because, because of the noise. It was so terrible and too loud,
What'd you see? What'd you hear?
Well, they were throwing some bombs, bombing.
Right.
Yeah. And some, I think they were using some rifles too, and the other kind of rifles, the one used stuff like that.
So again, tell us what you saw and heard one more time, because I don't think we have the thing going.
Well, just, going back and forth and doing the same thing, but I just couldn't see anything else because I was so scared. I went back to my apartment and, and...
So you were out walking and you actually...
Well, I think it started when I got from my walk. I'm not really too sure.
What'd you see in here again? You were saying...
I went back to my apartment because I was so scared, and I got out from there because I could still hear the noise, It was too loud and too fast.
Just pow, 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 or?
Yeah, of everything, I think they were doing everything on the same time.
Explosions and firing.
And everything on the same time, and then I saw one getting down from a parachute and way over there.
You're kidding?
Yes, I did.
What kind of uniforms were they in?
I couldn't barely tell.
You couldn't really see him in the dark.
Yeah, it was dark, so it was well, maybe it's,
black uniform?
Or green or something like that, Like the ones that they have, the men from the National Garden. I think they're the same. I could barely tell, and I could barely tell if they were wearing, something like that, like his, or I really couldn't tell. But I saw one.
What about the helicopters?
Well, the helicopters, I don't know. I haven't seen them, so close. They were so big, and just by it. Well, they look like blacks. I couldn't barely tell. Maybe they were black. I don't know.
No flashing lights on them or anything?
I'm afraid they were. They were too much light.
Ma'am.
I'm sorry.
What's your first and last name again? Gracie, we were just driving back by the police station that had the activities where they were practicing taking over the police station. We just stopped, and we didn't say a word to you about black helicopters, did we?
No.
We just asked you what you saw, and you said you heard pop, 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 and you said...
Well, I got to see the helicopters anyway, and I got to see them.
And they were black, you're saying?
I think. I'm not too sure, because I see them on TV, so
it
I
was
don't
nighttime,
know.
And yeah.
Yeah, between, it was 7 to 9 in the evening, 7 to 9. And it was a fire, but I don't know where. I think it was in that building.
See, they've already painted over it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it all black this morning?
Yeah, it's been all these days like that. I think they fixed it up. But I couldn't tell if it was, right there or over there. So I guess...
Now, wait. You said you saw somebody with a parachute. Can you point the direction where you saw the guy in the parachute?
Well, let's see. like near the fence, way over there.
Way a couple hundred yards over there.
Yeah.
Now, are they coming down from ropes or actual parachutes?
Well, I couldn't barely tell.
They were just coming out of the sky in the dark.
I couldn't tell if he was a parachute, if he was a rope. I just saw him, you know, getting down. That's all.
That is just absolutely incredible. How long did it last?
Oh, I don't know. You mean when they finish, they end? I'm not sure. It's like I said, it was 7 till 9. That's what they told me there. I'm not sure.
And so it went on for several hours.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
The gunfire and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Well, they had trouble with their imaginary enemy, didn't they?
I guess.
Must have been many different teams that were all the same.
They were using so many things that I could barely tell what they were.
So there were explosions and rapid gunfire.
And they also stopped on the top of the building right there.
Which one?
That one right there, you know.
You're talking about the old Exxon building.
Yeah, that one right here.
They blew out almost every window in that building?
Yes, they did. But
we heard that large helicopters landed on the top.
Yes. Mostly all of them, I think. They stopped right there in that building on the top.
They just landed on top of the building?
Yeah, and then they got away. They flew away. Huh. And I also saw a lot of men, you know, that I think they were going up and those things, you know.
What about the police?
Well, the police, I don't know about them. I don't know what they did. They were just taking care of the area, that's all.
While the Delta Force did their work.
They were standing over there, and I went over there, and over here there were a whole bunch of them. I think there were...
Did you appreciate not being warned and suddenly having black helicopters swarming?
No.
You didn't enjoy that?
No, not really, because, you know, I was thinking myself that they should be, you know, have done that here because it's dangerous, you know.
Well, you know what they're doing. They want to do this to citizens in the future, martial law, and I don't want to scare you is being prepared in this country. And what they're trying to do is, have you ever noticed how if you get somebody into something a little bit at a time, they're ready to accept it? They're easing America in to it to where people are used to seeing black helicopters fly over and explosions.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, I'm not trying to scare you. They're not coming after you.
No, it's all right.
Don't worry, they're coming after
Even if they are, maybe the others they are. They said a war is coming this way, so I don't know. Maybe, you know, they just wanted us to know, to see how, you know, how they fight in the war. That's what I've been thinking about it.
You're right. They want you to know that they're ready.
And maybe, you know, if that war comes over here, that war, you know, it probably would be, the noise, you know, would be more louder and stronger, you know?
Out of the mouths of babes. Innocent, nice old lady. Here she is. They want you to know. And so next time when it comes, it's going to be bigger and you'll know what to do. Desensitization. Use your common sense. This is Exposing Corruption. We're out of time. We've played over 30 minutes of tape, but next week we'll play some more. That's right. Next week we will play some more. We have dozens of other interviews, more information. We've got about 11 minutes left. Again, my name is Alex Jones. This is Exposing Corruption. I want to thank the crew. Buckley even came in tonight despite the fact that he's sick. My girlfriend's sick. A lot of people are sick right now. Again, if you just tuned in to what you're seeing, black helicopters. Black, you heard the fire chief, you heard many other people, workers that were there repairing the damage. Black helicopters attacked Port Aransas and Kingsville. Now, in Kingsville, they had prior knowledge. Only the police force did. The sheriff's department, many others did in a highly dangerous situation. They knocked down a power line outside town, created some serious fire damage and a serious hazard with live fire in the middle of Kingsville. The city itself, 25,000 people, 50,000 people in Clayburgh County, the county that Kingsville is centrally located in, about 30 miles outside of Corpus Christi. The Corpus Christi newspaper, and I've called to confirm this, the Corpus Christi Caller Times, you can check it out, callertimes.com. One Texas Police, this is WorldNet Daily, excuse me, you can check it out. The mayor, Port Aransas Mayor Glenn Martin, said he didn't know how to answer questions from residents about the training because he hadn't been notified. This happened 4 days later on Friday night. I didn't know what was going on, Martin said. They were calling me up and asking me about a bunch of black helicopters. They took over a refinery in this case. Federal Emergency Management Coordinator in Clyburn County and Director of FEMA repeat, in Kingsville, former Vietnam veteran, 2.5 terms till he was almost mortally wounded.
Thomas Sanchez was on my radio program last night. Next week we'll probably play some audio clips for you. Can't get him up here in town. I understand why. He's also head of the Texas State National Guard military police. This is not a kook. This is a FEMA person. This is serious. He says that preparing for martial law. You can also see a transcript of the interview that he did with WorldNet Daily. I turned him on to them. Down there, he's very angry, where he talks about Presidential Directive 25. They're preparing for martial law. He told me last night and Central Texas that he is extremely angry and that these people are the enemy in the Delta Force. Again, I'm getting massive support from people at Fort Hood, Marines, Army, you name it. They're very angry. High-level officers cannot believe this. Again, it's an executive decision, directive. This is an executive activity of Bill Clinton, someone who supposedly abhors the military. All these phony liberals and bootlickers out there, and all these phony conservatives, claim they love the military so much, but these liberals claim they hate it, these phony liberals. And now here they are, but it's their military. Just like Ron Silver said, the Hollywood actor, at Clinton's inaugural in 93, elected in 92, but inaugurated in 93. A couple days later, they had the World Trade Center bombing that Clinton engineered in Oklahoma City in 95. But he said at the inaugural, look at those jets. And Hillary looked to him and said, those are our jets now. Think about it. They love you. They're going to take good care of you. Suddenly, the newer, kindler, gentler military girding itself in the special teams in black, expanding the teams. And Governor Bush, Monday night, he released his statement. You can read it at WorldNet Daily. We've also called, confirmed with their office. That's worldnetdaily.com. In fact, is there a way, guys, to put up WorldNet Daily? It's www.worldnetdaily.com, real fast. And then, of course, the address at the end of this program. We're going to launch our own internet site with information for you, but we got busy building Joe Campana a new house because the city was going to bulldoze it, so we haven't gotten on this new project as of yet. We're too busy going out of town and things to confront what's happening. Governor Bush says, well, the local people, it's up to them if they're going to have the military to do these live fire training exercises. Well, number one, it's a direct violation of the 10th Amendment and the posse comitatus. But most importantly, San Antonio doesn't want them, and it's been all over KTSA and WOAI radio stations and all their TV down there in San Antonio that they are hopping mad. They don't want them. You've seen the chief on this show back in May, Allie Philippus of San Antonio, former Army intelligence, throwing him out for trying to bribe him. Transcript of that's on WorldNet Daily. There's a bunch of articles. The big headline article is the military admits they were using live fire now. They've stopped lying. In the middle of a population center. But you've got to understand, repeat, you've got to understand that they're in San Antonio right now at the most centrally located. There are what, dozens of bases in and around San Antonio, but they're picking the smallest and the most centrally located, despite the fact the mayor asked them not to overfly the city and do their live fire and blow things up in front of everybody downtown at Fort Sam Houston. They're bivouacked there as we speak. The operation could be going on tonight or tomorrow night. Who knows? But I just won't be sleeping the next few days. We'll be doing our best to get you footage. Like I should go tonight. I shouldn't go to tomorrow. That doesn't matter. I got to have sleep. It is incredible. This is the biggest story. What's the New York Times have yesterday? A little blip about how, well, a military exercise caused a fire. Why don't they talk about Port Aransas, not Kingsville? I may go to Port Aransas tomorrow as well. There's so many sites because now we're told from two sources that I have at two different military bases, one in California, one at Fort Hood here in Texas, that they're inserting 100 anti-terrorism specialists into the city of Corpus Christi. Again, this is all an exercise. They're trying to start a fight. At the same time, they're trying to desensitize the public. That's what black helicopters do. They don't ask permission. They just blow things up. It's crazy. We were in Kingsville for the Monday incident, Wednesday night and Thursday after it happened, as soon as we got down there. But now they're going to Port Aransas, they're going to other towns and engaging in this activity all across Texas, all in South Texas. It's crazy, it's wrong, it's dangerous, it's unconstitutional. This is a military action. A lot of military leaders are quoted in WorldNet Daily saying they don't believe this, but it's all part of Chairman Shelton, the new Joint Chiefs of Staff after John Shalikashvili, the last one, the son of a Polish death camp operator for the Nazis. These are wonderful people we're talking about. And his specialty wasn't engineering or wasn't logistics. No, it was civilian population control and internment. That was his job. He's from Fort Bragg.
Now he's running the whole thing. Clinton now wants, and it's been in all the major papers the last few weeks, he wants a U.S. theater of operations czar, commander, make this an actual war zone, never been done in U.S. history. They want a theater of operations commander for U.S. operations, expressly. Clinton is expressly doing what is unconstitutional. 2 weeks ago, 2 Thursdays ago, it was in the Dallas Morning News, front page. It's been in the New York Times. They're all telling you how great it is. A U.S. theater command operations officer, a high-level general, a 3- or 4-star general. I want you to think about that. What they're doing. Coup d'etat, takeover, domination, criminality. Clinton does not want to leave office. To the serious people out there, it's time to call every radio and every TV station and demand this be the #1 story. It's been on most of the talk radio stations here in town, the 2 that are left, KJFK 98.9 FM and KLBJ 590 AM. I called KLBJ repeatedly and said, look, cover this, facts and the stuff. And finally, 4 or 5 days late, they did air it, but we do appreciate that. 98.9 KJFK supports free speech in Austin, Texas. Do we have time to get WorldNet Daily up there? You can see this, you can see photos of this information on the cover story. Go down in it, and then it'll have a link to the last story from this Monday. With the digital photos you've seen here on WorldNet Daily. Just scroll down, we'll say photos of fire damage, and you can click on that and it'll take you right to it, to the story that has those photos. So again, guys, we're not making this stuff up. It's worldnetdaily.com. There you go, WorldNet Daily. We'll put up an address for you later to write to us or any other information here in Austin, Texas. Again, my name is Alex Jones. Refusing to submit to the lies and the corruption and the out-of-control bureaucracy. It's the history of the world. Serious people, it's time for you to stand up and stand up strong. Do it today. Get involved. Get motivated. Wake up the American people. If you'll just get off the bench, and that's enough, guys, great job. If you'll just get off the bench and get proactive and cease to be a spectator and get in the game in some small way, you don't have to save the world by yourself. It's not a drive-through window instant solution. Expend the energy, toil in the fields, watch the fruits bear. That's what it comes down to. Now, there's so many lies, there's so many brands of corruption, there's so much garbage, there's so many balkanized systems, problem, reaction, solution, order out of chaos. Smash through it. Smash through it today. You have the capacity, you have the will, you have got to do it. Come on. Listen to me. They've taught you not to believe in anything. They've taught you to never come to a decision. They've taught you to never believe in anything concrete and solid. Meanwhile, you're rudderless out there and they're driving forward towards a human boot, as Orwell said, or towards a boot stomping on the human face. Come on! All this phony environmentalism, all this phony garbage, they're dumping it all on the rest of the world. It's about your property, it's about your life, it's about your kids. Clinton signed $2.4 billion for federal checkpoints to check for seat belts, at the same time search your vehicle. They're getting citizens involved. And now you've got a FEMA director down in that area telling you, Thomas Sanchez. You've got him telling you, Presidential Directive Decision 25, I've warned you about it. They're getting ready. Hoarding of food can get you in a labor camp. This is history. Come on.
Well, there it was.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, see, the thing that Bruce Elfant fails to talk about, you know, he said, yeah, the people who have these permits to carry their gun, it's like they're criminals. Mm-hmm. You get a traffic citation, you're a criminal. You're a statistic.
You're right, and that's part of that 2,000.
Yeah, and we don't know. Like, I hadn't had a ticket in 9 years, and all of a sudden, when I took that video footage, I got 2. See? So, I mean, 1 mile over the speed limit. If the guy wants to bust you and give you a ticket, he's going to give it. I don't care whether or not you have a handgun permit or not. What does that have to do with anything? Probably the only reason why they know is because once they type in your name, they're going to see if you have a handgun permit. Because one of the things they asked me is if I had any guns in my car when I'm on my way to work. Get real, Bruce.
Yeah, you know, the other thing here, how do I word this? he made a statement about they need more hours of training.
Right, more than...
So that they can be, you know, they made the statement that police officers are much better trained, which they are.
Yeah.
You know, they have a free police range.
Right, and they go, what,
But
sometimes
then
several times a
the
week?
thing that flashed through my mind when I heard that was these two recent murders or
Yeah,
killings by
police officers.
One guy holding a knife, I think. I forget what both cases were.
Yeah.
And they drilled a guy full of bullets.
Yeah, 41 bullets in this one guy, just brandishing a knife.
Now, is that your training? Come on.
Yeah, it's only training to get the bullet in you.
The only people I've ever killed with my weapons was Vietnamese.
There you go, in war. So,
come on.
Bruce, you just don't know what you're talking about. You're
Well, he was trained by that old group that came out of that
see?
Berkeley mentality.
Yeah, and it's that sway.
Sorry, Berkeley, but...
But it's trying to sway somebody to believe that guns kill people. Well, guns don't, just like the lady said.
Excellent report, Fox. You asked good questions.
Yep, very good. All right, what do we got next?
Oh, the next one is about laser weapons.
Okay.
And a very brave American who has stepped out.
All right,
so
if we're
whenever
ready,
you're ready.
Brave new world of directed energy warfare. It's already begun to claim victims. Just ask Jack Daly, who says he's a casualty of a particularly terrifying new technology.
The doctor at the emergency room told me, I don't know what you have. I've never seen anything like this before.
It happened 2 years ago. Daly, a naval intelligence officer, was sent out on board a helicopter to photograph a Russian ship called the Kapitan Man, which he says was monitoring U.S. submarines off Washington State.
So you have suspicion that this is a Russian spy ship
Yes,
in U.S. waters?
yes.
Daly takes 30 surveillance photos. He and his pilot fly back toward home. They're on the ground when both feel their eyes throbbing, their vision blurred, horrible headaches. But why? It was a mystery until Daly's photos were developed.
Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
It's one of his surveillance pictures, frame 16. Look closely. Look closer still. That red dot below the bridge.
This may be the first time that a laser was actually ever photographed during routine operations.
And medical exams showed Daly's eyes had been burned, and the lesions were consistent with laser exposure. We're not talking about those little pointers kids use, but a blinding laser, much more powerful, that can be used for pinpoint attacks from hundreds of feet away.
Tell me what it was like and is like to look out your eyes.
They always hurt. I've been in constant pain since the 4th of April, 97, without a moment's relief.
Constant
pain?
What kind?
I get these surges of pain. It can be anything from being jabbed in the eye with an ice pick to being hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Both eyes?
Both eyes.
And it's not just Daly. The pilot of his helicopter also suffered eye damage. And no one knows the long-term effects. Daly fears he'll go blind.
That's scary.
That is scary.
I mean, with the newest types of weapons that they're coming out with nowadays, I mean, from sound, lasers, I mean, I don't know. Even some of the cops have lasers on their weapons, but I don't know. Those are just for supposedly pinpointing or targeting.
There's more to that report that 2020 had, and further on down the road in there that talks about how this happened again to a couple of helicopter pilots in Bosnia.
Well, you know, the Russians don't want us over there anyway.
No.
See?
No.
Because we're getting ready to go back Saturday, maybe, right?
Yeah, this man is a hero for stepping out.
For stepping out.
And letting the public know.
That's it. So that takes care of.
That's it for old Roberts.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and finish? We've got about 11 minutes of Irwin's shift, and ladies and gentlemen, you need to, this is part 6 in a probably 18-part series. So we're going to bring you all the information concerning the federal income tax, because Irwin has his hand on the pulse of the the Internal Revenue Service and the law, and you need to listen to this gentleman and begin to think about why it is we're paying income tax. There's no law making us liable for this illegal tax. It's been there, or they've been taking it from us since the Second World War, 1942. Before that, you didn't have to pay anything. So why don't we go ahead and cue up Irwin, and when we come back, we'll just have a few brief comments, and we'll be out of here, folks.
You to keep books and records for income tax purposes. No law authorizes IRS agents to seize property in payment of income tax, and much, much more. In short, you'll discover that the federal government has been collecting income taxes in violation of law.
By Dan Burton to one of his constituents, who's probably a pupil of mine, who said, look, as far as I can see, there's no law making you liable. And look what the congressman says. You are correct in your assertion that the word liable, or terminology liability for tax, is not included in any section of the Internal Revenue Code. So here is a letter that a congressman says to his constituents that there is no section of the law making you liable. Is that right? Is that right? And the Treasury Department says where is that? And the Treasury Department says, the law says, you're only required to file and pay if you're liable. So those two letters alone prove that nobody's required to file and pay income taxes. Does everybody understand that? This is why I can do this, folks. If I'm going to tell you not to pay a tax that the law requires you to pay, they'd arrest me. This merely shows you the extent of the criminal character of your government. They've sent people to jail, they've destroyed houses, people have committed suicide in violation of a law that doesn't exist, and they all know it. Now, another thing. This was a chart in Money Magazine. It showed they send people to a number of accounting firms with the same facts. According to Money Magazine, these facts indicated that the amount of tax due was $43,000. They cite the accounting firms. Now, various accounting firms computed the tax from $94,000, and look what they paid. $900, $1,400, $1,500, $1,200. All the way down to $36,000. But again, this man, he was charged $2,000, $1,800, $1,000, $1,500. I think the smallest charge was $400. But first of all, this shows you that the law is void for vagueness. How could there be a law where professionals vary so much? Now, in essence, I do what tax lawyers do. What do tax lawyers do? You go to a tax lawyer, and the tax lawyer tries to lower your tax to as low as possible. Of course, he charges you. If he could lower it totally, he would do it. But you still have to keep books and records. You'd have to submit to an audit. Now, for $25, you buy my book for $25, and I eliminate your tax totally. So we're much better than tax lawyers and much cheaper. And much cheaper than accountants. You pay $35 and you won't file a tax return. And look what these accountants get, and they can't figure it out. And every one of those returns was probably wrong, and I'm going to show you how to file a correct return. For a lot less money, and you're going to sleep much more peacefully. Okay. Everybody was given a sheet when they came in here. Can I have that sheet? You were given a sheet. Yeah, let me have this, please. Okay. Okay, open it up. Okay, what you're looking at on that sheet is a Privacy Act notice. And that Privacy Act notice is the Privacy Act notice that goes with a form, it goes with a form 730. Now, what's a form 730? Now, here's the Privacy Act notice in a 1040, but you already have a Privacy Act notice. Here is a privacy, and we're going to compare two Privacy Act notices. The Privacy Act notice that relates to the wagering tax. Bookmakers, if you're a bookmaker, you're supposed to pay, by law, 2% of your gross wages, of your gross bets to the government. It's called the federal wagering tax. Now, the form in which they pay that tax is called the Form 730. And in connection with the federal wagering tax, there is a Privacy Act notice. Comparable to the Privacy Act notice, that's in page 38 of the current 1040. Now, why is there a Privacy Act notice here? Incidentally, you see this 1040? The only official part of this whole 1040 is this half page right here. Everything else is designed to mislead you and is the IRS's opinion. This is not law. The only thing in here that's supposed to conform to law is the Privacy Act and Paperwork Reduction Act notice. Why is it here? Because Congress some 20 or 30 years ago, I don't know, passed, one of the better laws. And this was a law designed to prevent federal bureaucrats from sending you letters asking you for all kinds of information that you might not have to give them. Suppose you got a letter from some bureaucrat. Say, please fill out this document. Would you know whether you're required to fill it out? Would you know what the penalties are if you didn't fill it out? So, every government agency who wants to send you a request for information, and the IRS sends out a lot of these letters, requests for information, but they're all bootleg documents. Because any government agency that asks for information is supposed to send that request of information to the Office of Money and Budget, and if they think it's appropriate and required by law, they give them an OMB number. It's called OMB number, and it's shown here on the 1040. If you open up, now what did I just do with my glasses? Okay. Now, the OMB number, you can see the OMB number on page 274. It's right here. It's a little, that's the OMB number. Now, if any government agency sends you a document asking for information, and if there's no OMB number, it's a bootleg form. You don't even have to reply to it. Okay. So, any government agency that asks for information must tell you whether giving the information is voluntary or mandatory, and what will happen to you if you don't give it. Now, incidentally, how many people filed tax returns last year? Let me see a show of hands. Okay. Now, who told you you had to file those tax returns? Anybody tell you? Did the government tell you? So how'd you know you had to file it? Your lawyer told you, right? Well, who's your lawyer? He told you? Did he show you any statement from the government that you're required to file? Well, let's take a look. No. Oh, let's take a look at the form in the mail. Here's the form in the mail you got. Let's see if it tells you you're required to file. Okay, let's see. Now, let's take a look at this form that bookmakers get. First of all, if you look at the form, it says you must file a Form 730 and pay the tax on wagers under Section 4401. So bookmakers are told that they're required to file a Form 730. As a matter of fact, they're told they have to do it 3 times. Once here, once here, and once here. You see that? They're told 3 times they have to file a Form 730. Now let's take a look at the comparable. For those who don't have a 1040, if you have a 1040, here it is. Now, if you don't have a 1040, you can see it right here. Look at the Privacy Act notice and tell me where it says you have to file a Form 1040. Is there any place in there you got to file a Form 1040? Nowhere. Form 38 of a 1040. Yeah, 42. Now, if you don't want to keep switching, just open up the forms that were given to you, and just we're comparing the Privacy Act notice as it appears in the 1040. It's a little different form here, a little different shape, but it contains the same information. We're comparing the Privacy Act notice that appears in a 1040 with the Privacy Act notice that bookmakers are given with a Form 730. So the first thing that you should notice is that bookmakers are literally told they got to file a Form 730. And they have to pay the tax pursuant to Section 4401. It says you must file and pay the tax on wagers. Now, where in here does it say you must pay the tax on income? Does it say in any place? Well, then who told you you have to pay a tax on income? And the bookmakers are even told the statute. There's another thing I want to tell you. When the federal wagering tax was first passed, the Supreme Court declared the federal wagering tax unconstitutional because the Supreme Court, it was the Carragher decision, said that even though being a bookmaker was not a federal crime, it was a crime in most states. So if a bookmaker filed a wagering tax with the federal government and paid his tax, the states could get that information from the federal government, and then the man would be prosecuted under state law for filing a federal return. And therefore they held the tax unconstitutional because he could be prosecuted under state law. So in order to collect the money from bookmakers, they had to give the bookmakers immunity from criminal prosecution with respect to the information they put on their return. And here you'll see it says that a bookmaker may not be prosecuted with the information he puts on his tax return. Now, the Supreme Court, on the other hand, has said people who file tax returns can be prosecuted with the information because it's voluntary, and you're given a Miranda warning right here. If you look on your 1040 booklet, it says right here, we may give the information to the Department of Justice so they can use the information against you, and we may give it to other federal agencies as provided by law. We may also give it to the states, the District of Columbia, to carry out, and we may give it to foreign governments. Now, how many people here, if the government said to you, look, give us this information, and we want to be able to use it against you. We want to be able to prosecute you with this information. We want to be able to give it to the states so they can prosecute you, and we want to be able to give it to the federal, foreign governments. How many would say, yeah, it's okay with me. Use all this information against me? How many would say it's okay with me? None of
Well, I tell you.
Oh, we're back.
That's extremely interesting.
I know. He's, ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen Irwin Shift in person, he's just like your dad. I mean, that's the way he comes across. He's very open, very straightforward, very honest. And if you want to find out some more about Irwin Shift and the book called The Federal Mafia, go down to your library. It's free. Okay, and you can check it out, and you can check the information in the Federal Mafia from the library. If you're like me and you really want to know what the code said, you just go down to the library. You won't get this particular code because I had to buy this, but you get Title 26. Ask the librarian at the library for Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code, and you'll understand that the paying of income tax is not a legal thing to do. You're breaking the law and you don't even know it. But the IRS doesn't care.
No.
See, that's a law they love you to break.
Show me the money.
Yeah. Anyway, but there it is, folks.
Yeah, and by the way, before I forget, I want to thank Agent Jesse and
okay.
Agent Rusty for those film clips that I got.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. And like I said, we get a lot of our information right from viewers.
Yeah, send it in, folks.
Yeah.
That's great.
And you could either mail it down here to Access Television over off 11th Street, and I guess this is what, Northeastern?
Gee, do you think our leader?
we have to
we
check.
should have checked with our leader.
Yeah, we better check with our leader because we don't want to get in trouble.
Like fluoride that we're going to do another special on, right?
Yes. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a tape on fluoride because I was in the news, what was that, yesterday's news?
Yeah.
The 17th, yesterday. There's an article in talking about fear of fluoride. And we've done several shows on fluoride, talked about fluoride itself, talked about chlorine.
Chlorine, right? Cancerous.
Yeah, and poison, cancer. Fluoride causes yellow spots on your teeth, may even be brown spots, accumulates in the brain.
Yeah, real quickly. Well, I think we said some of this before. Fluoride is, after all, an extremely toxic compound that originally was sold as a bug and rat poison. It causes lots of problems ranging from cancer to impaired brain function. Adolf Hitler tested with fluoride on his captives, and it's what it did is it made them complacent. Brittle bones, fluorosis, white splotches on the teeth indicate weak enamel. An estimated 22% of American children, have some form of fluorosis.
Either on the teeth or in the bones.
And very quickly, recent studies in the Journal of Dental Research conclude that tooth decay rates in Western Europe, which is 98% unfluoridated, have declined as much as they have in the United States in recent decades. Indeed, it's only in the United States that fluoride is championed by the government.
Yeah.
Most European nations, including Germany, France, Sweden, Holland, prohibit fluoride on public health grounds.
Now, let me tell you something, folks. The federal government has mandated that by the year 2000, every public water utility servicing district there is in the United States will be pumping this stuff into our water.
The fluoride manufacturers.
That's it.
Show me the money.
Yeah, it's made, and you get fluoride. They also use it in the manufacture of fertilizer, the making of aluminum cans. It's a poison, ladies and gentlemen. And originally, back in the 40s, when they were developing the atomic bomb, it was used in the bomb project. And in 1947, they didn't know what to do with this poison, so they went to the federal government and said, look, we've got all this toxic waste. It will cost us a fortune to get rid of it. Somebody came up with a bright idea. Well, in small dosages, it won't hurt people. It just maybe just accumulate in their body. So let's just dump it in the water and tell the American people it's good.
Stay tuned right here for more classics.
It is the best and most comprehensive book on Bohemian Grove, and it's written by Mike Hanson, my old camera guy.
Mike Hanson Archives.
Get ready to write. To support this channel, I just got a new box of books in, and I will send you a signed copy if you want to write us here at P.O. Box 481, Gonzales, Texas 78629. Send $25 and we will send you don't have to send any shipping, just send $25 and we'll use it to put more VHS tapes up. Look at that. Good Alex right there. Okay, and then also if you want to call, there's the box of books. If you want to call, I don't hear no phones ringing in there yet. If you want to call here, we got people answering the phones here. I don't hear no phones ringing yet. If you want to call us, our phone number is 830-672-3089. I got that right this time, didn't I? Okay, and look, there's the phones ringing. Okay, and then we got people over here working hard on putting tapes up tonight, right? Okay.
It is the best and most comprehensive book on Bohemian Grove, and it's written by Mike Hanson, my old camera guy.
Mike Hanson Archives. Get ready to write.